The following program does not have a normal intro because I was really too busy smoothing other things over to get it done. So, Ori? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic. I have a lot of things I want to talk to you about. There's so many different stories I really want to cover. There really are. The expose about the Russian collusion hoax came out. Much of it came out yesterday. Honestly, I haven't checked much of the news today. The shooting in Kansas City, Hunter Biden issues. There's so much out there. Hunter Biden, both pro, helping Hunter, hurting Hunter. Crazy stuff going on. And that's all Saturday night. That's not tonight. Right now, we have to focus on the hearing of all hearings. We walked into this expecting that this was going to be a crazy hearing. And man, did it deliver. Oh my God. This was, if you missed it, all I can say is woe unto you. You got 8.5 hours of coverage that I provided today that you can go back to. 8.5 hours. But and you'd say to yourself, Joe, you got all these different stories to cover. You have all these different stories. Why would you come back to Fani? Because it's fascinating. It is freaking fascinating to me to watch a district attorney on the stand being questioned about her love life in a trial, a criminal prosecution of a former president of the United States. It's like, who the hell a year ago would have predicted such a no human would have predicted it. And the nature of the testimony that came out watching Fani on the stand and the different players and the roles and the way they reacted to this moment, I think was very revealing about a lot of the main participants here. And it also provides an opportunity for me to do something that I enjoy doing that I feel like I don't have much opportunity to do. And that is to walk you through effective litigation techniques and show you so you can see with your own eyes, just like why this doesn't work. You can understand why this doesn't work, why this is a better strategy, this is a worse strategy. And one of the reasons I think this is important, especially because we're entering an age now where I find that a lot more people have developed a fascination with watching trials, and especially watching trials with attorneys like myself or many of my peers. I know that this hearing today was live streamed by, I don't know, 4 different friends of mine, at least. Robert Gouveia, Viva, Danny on Direct, Nate, I think Kurt on Silva. I can't even keep track how many people, everyone. I mean, because this was a crazy hearing. This was crazy. So I get it. There's certainly no malice at all toward any of those people. And I'm very grateful for the number of eyes that I had, given the competitiveness of the environment that I'm in. So if you stuck with me today, I say to you, thank you. I'm very appreciative and somewhat flattered. But one of the reasons, so with us doing that, I think what ends up happening is we'll see someone who's sticking it to someone we like. And we just start, I think a lot of laypersons who are not used to seeing attorneys work don't appreciate, is this really great lawyering, or is it just you have a lot of meat to go after, so almost any attorney would look great there, versus where you have a really difficult situation. And I think that Fani Willis is a very tough person to question, very tough. And we saw the difference where we had Merchant, who's not quite as seasoned as Sado, and everyone in the morning saw Merchant. They're like, oh my gosh, Ashley Merchant, she's like one of the greatest attorneys ever. And then if you got to see in the afternoon session, then you saw, okay, look, she's a good attorney. And then I'm definitely not knocking her. And she was in a tougher position than Sado, and I'll explain why and how. But that, her ability to direct a hostile witness, it's not the same level. It's really not the same level. And I'm hopeful to help I'm hoping to help exhibit that to you so we can sort of analyze what works best. And I have an aide here to help me in doing that, because it's not just little old me. No, it's not just little me. I have another brilliant attorney, tops in his field, and that, of course, is my good friend, Andrew Branca. Coming in.
Hey, Joe. How you doing, man?
I am awesome, thank you. Awesome, awesome indeed. Before I get to you, I do want to just acknowledge and say God bless you, Bella Stella, who dropped 10 earlier today on me, and now she's dropping another 10. And I just wanted to say thank you so very, very much. I appreciate you. And I need to drop a horn on her. That's 10 good Lawgic memberships. God bless you. God bless you. Anyhow. So you got to catch some of today's hearing, right?
So a little bit of the woman lawyer. I don't know how to describe her,
Ashley
except
Merchant.
that she has a
Ashley
badly
Merchant.
distorted sweater, whatever her name is. So I saw her questioning.
I don't think people say badly distorted. No one says badly distorted. Most people say
well distorted.
Well distorted.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Fair enough. It was like being on the ocean today because it was in blue.
The waves were
and a little bit of the guys questioning her, but mostly it was that female lawyer. And I have to say, I just thought she was terrible. I just don't think she's very good at questioning witnesses.
Okay, so we're gonna analyze it.
And by the way, full disclosure. So we're all human beings, right? So we approach these situations. We have our interpretation as a normal human, right, of these people. And to me, all these witnesses look like they're lying their asses off. But from a lawyer's perspective, there's a burden that has to be met. And there's specific thresholds that the lawyers questioning these witnesses have to achieve. And so I don't believe anything that Fani Willis is saying or that Wade dude or most of the other witnesses, but that's not the point from a legal perspective. The point from a legal perspective is, are the lawyers accomplishing what they need to accomplish? And I have to confess, I didn't see that today.
Right. Well, I'll tell you this much. So just to give a synopsis for those people who didn't, and I'll give a quick synopsis for those people who couldn't watch the entire day today. So it started.
Her name is Jugs a Poppin'. I'm pretty sure that's not her name.
It's definitely not her name. So it started with prosecution making a claim that this whole hearing should just be abandoned by the judge, and arguments were made on that issue. We got past that, and then there were all sorts of issues as to who was going to come up first and on the nature of their testimony.
Right. So the first witness didn't show up, right?
The first witness wasn't there. That was Yurdi. She wasn't there. She wasn't available, and she was the first one they wanted. And the prosecution was screaming, you said that Terrence Bradley was going to be the first one. And there was all these different motions to quash that we had 3 days ago. And when we had those motions to quash and we said, they're going to be testifying against you. This one you're calling is testifying against you. All of them are testifying against you. And you said Terrence Bradley is going to come in here and set them straight and impeach them all, and that's why he's got to be first. And now you don't even want to start with Terrence Bradley. You want to start with someone else, and we don't think that's fair. And Ashley Merchant correctly argued, and I think then she argued well in making the point that, hey, look, I said what I argued the issues that I had to on Monday, but I wasn't fleshing out everything I was going to get from every one of these witnesses, and I don't have to. I'm not obligated to bring out Bradley first, and I don't want to. So that's not I don't have a duty to do that. I really want to bring Yurdi, but then Yurdi doesn't show. So then she's forced to Terrence Bradley. And as soon as she gets to
Do you think that really threw her? Because when I saw her interviewing Bradley, every time I see, is her name actually Ashley? Because I don't want to call her mother wrong. Okay. No, so Ashley, every time I see attorney Ashley, she always seems so stressed and hyped up and barely in control of herself. And there is a time for that in a courtroom, but normally the time for that's when you're throwing the last punches. That's when you have the witness stumbling backwards, or you think you're about to get them stumbling backwards, and then you can get a little histrionic. At least this is just a personal lawyer's opinion. Different lawyers do things different ways, but when she seems frantic all the time, to me it's very off-putting. Like she doesn't feel like she's in control of her own questioning.
Right. So I will tell you this. I think in the morning she was much better than she was in the afternoon. I think that it was a long day for her. And also I'll give her I'm not looking to tear down Ashley Merchant, because I think that getting to this evidentiary hearing was a bit of a surprise, and that was a bit of an accomplishment on her end. And because, I mean, let's face it, the nature of what the argument is here, I at first was struggling to sort of figure out all these different claims you have against Fani Willis for all these different wrongs, but how are we tying this into a basis for them to be removed from this specific prosecution?
I was missing that connection too. I was like, so where are we going with all of this? What is all of this? And frankly, I was kind of surprised the judge let it go as far as it did. Like, what is the so for the judge, there ought be no surprises, right? You're telling the judge, I'm going to go from point A to point B. Here's how I plan to get there. These are the questions I'm going to ask. I want your permission, judge, to ask these questions. The judge says, all right, if you're asking those questions to get from point A to point B, I'm with you. We'll do that. But if you veer from that, I'm going to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
And I failed today to see that progression.
So let's break down what the motion actually is. And it really was a little bit of a hodgepodge because I don't think she has a lot of legal precedent to rely on. And it just sort of feels like this is inequitable what's happening here. It's unjust. When I'm saying inequitable, what I'm saying is, justice demands some sort of relief, and the only relief I can come up with is removing them from the case. Or I guess she could have argued for dismissal of the case, but she was basically saying this entire prosecution is a violation of due process or in some other way unfair to her defendant. Her defendant is Michael Roman, who's a co-defendant of Trump in the Georgia RICO case, and that it was an unfair prosecution because she was improperly geared up on personal bases to go after Trump. And that's why her client got caught up in this. So she threw out a whole hodgepodge of different things as far as what was wrong. So what are some of the different things she threw out there? She's like, well...
But by the way, Joe, before you go on, just for the audience, when Joe, speaking of, uses the word equitable, it's not in the way that most normal people today would think of that, like equity, like diversity, inclusion, and equity. Right. In legal terminology, it really means like a fundamental aspect of fairness, that this is fundamentally an unfair proceeding.
Precisely. So she's like, look, my client now as co-defendant of Trump got caught up in this craziness where Fani was in this crazy rush to try and go after Trump. So she dragged my client into it, but this entire process is tainted by unfairness. And that's why it dictates her removal from this case. So what's the types of unfairness that we're tainting Fani Willis as alleged in the motion? So she's got all these, she's looking for her fame. She's making 38 different appearances on different TV shows. She's writing herself a book. And we have evidence of the fact that she's not even bothering going to the commission to get approval for.
But most concretely would be she has a financial interest in the outcome of the case. That is the killer for these cases.
And that ultimately was what the judge pared away all the other different issues. And he's like, this guy isn't even really qualified to be a prosecutor. He's never been a prosecutor. Judge doesn't care about that. All he cares about is the one claim that he wanted to hone in on was this. She's motivated towards this prosecution for her own personal gain or the gain of her boyfriend, the financial gain of her boyfriend. So now that and when you first drop a shocking bombshell, remember that 2 months ago no one had ever conceived that Nathan Wade and Fani Willis were dating, and she drops that bombshell, and that's when the first time the world had ever heard of such a thing. Everyone's like, what? They're dating? Really? That was like, it was shocking. And a lot of people probably anticipated they would deny the relationship, but instead in their opposition, they denied the timing of the relationship, but they admitted that there was a relationship. And that, I think, is what gave legs that the judge like, okay, this is not just a crazy claim that's just, baseless, but they're admitting that they have a relationship. They're just denying the timing as to when it started. And the opposition papers, in the reply papers, Ashley Merchant puts in, we have evidence that it predates everything. It predates his appointment as special prosecutor. So given that context, he's like, maybe this really was about a way to enrich herself. And that's, so now we're going to,
in a very concrete way, right? Not just prestige, or because every prosecutor who has a high profile case is thinking they're going to be, they're going to run for governor next, right? Yep. That's why they're doing these things. So there's always a personal interest. but there's some personal interests that are kind of acceptable, like they want to run for higher office, and there's others that are not, like they're just making money off this prosecution.
Yeah. So, and that's precisely, and what Andrew pointed out is precisely why the judge was paring it down to what makes this unusual, rather than just, well, you're prosecuting a famous person. If you're going after a famous person, then you're looking for the public acclaim. That's always going to be the case when you have a glamorous defendant in your opposition. You could say someone suing Johnny Depp is theoretically also, they're looking for the acclaim, and whatever it is, especially if it's a political figure who's a hot button lightning rod that is so polarizing that that it's going to vault you into spotlight.
It's always a legitimate path of inquiry. I can tell you, every time I act as an expert on a case, they ask me, well, how much are you getting paid? Right? They always ask me that. And I do cases sometimes pro bono, and they'll say, well, okay, it's true you're not actually getting paid, but isn't your expert witness testimony here still going to better your legal practice? Aren't you still going to benefit in some way? And I'm like, I guess so. Just like if you get a conviction, it's going to benefit you.
Yeah, I could be. I hope so. You wouldn't say I hope so, but yeah. So at the end of the day, so that's why the judge is like, I don't care about that, because that by that argument, you can never go after anyone who's going to put you in the spotlight. So, but he did focus on the unusual, and that was this romantic relationship, which is why now we have this whole testimony trying to figure out, okay, when did this relationship become personal? And because if it became personal after he was appointed, in that case, the claim seems to die.
It wasn't a motivation for the prosecution.
Right. Although it's an interesting thing that came up today that was not really brought up in the moving papers, which was he's hired initially, but then they admit that there's a relationship that starts 2 or 3 months after he's hired.
Still a problem to me, because there's still the financial interest potential there.
And he gets re-upped on his contract expires, and he gets a brand new contract during the period of time that they admit that there's a relationship. If you believe Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, and I'm not saying you should, you can choose to believe them or
you definitely shouldn't, but
even by their own admissions. By their own admissions, they were involved in a relationship at least from April of 2022 until June of 2023. So they had at least a 14-month relationship at the shortest. If you take the shortest, the latest start date and the earliest end date, so it's at least a 14-month relationship that they had. And when I say relationship in this context, it certainly seems like it was that they had a physical relationship during that period of
as disgusting as that is.
Please don't visualize. I should have put a warning out, right? I should have put a warning out.
But some of the remarkable things to me here are. So I learned today that Fani apparently is paid $130,000 to be a prosecutor. And this boyfriend of hers was paid something like $750,000 a year. So basically double her annual salary.
It wasn't that much. It was closer to like $350 a year. He got $700.
No, that's what I'm meaning. $750 over 2 years. So like $350 a year. Right. But that's still double her salary. So she's making $130. And what I'm hearing in court is that she's got a mortgage, she's got a condo payment, and she's traveling all over the place multiple times a year. I travel, folks. I know what it costs. Okay. I make substantially more than Fani Willis makes. That's expensive. Yeah. I don't know how you have anything left out of $130,000.
Right. So anyhow,
and that's her gross. That's not her take home, right? So what's her take home? 100, and she's paying a mortgage and a condo fee and traveling and purportedly paying her own travel expenses to Belize, to Aruba, on cruises, Miami. I'm sorry, I just don't believe it.
Anyhow, so just backtracking here as far as what this entire case ultimately, how testimony came down today. So first we had Milton Bradley. We had Terrence Bradley get on the stand, who's a former partner of Nathan Wade, another attorney who ended up serving as his divorce lawyer. And every question she's asking is objection privilege. And she barely got like 7 questions in before she was mercifully spared by Robin Yurdy showing up. And so she's like, I really rather question Robin Yurdy. Can we please go in that direction? The judge said, fine. Robin Yurdy was a godsend with her testimony for Ashley. And the reason she was a godsend is like practically right out of the gate, she testified that this relationship did not start in 2022 the way Fani starts, but that they met in 2019 and that within a couple of months they started dating, which means that they started dating in the latest early 2020, and he's not hired to be a special prosecutor until November 1st, 2021. And it's an interesting thing. He's hired. He signs that contract, and the next day he ended up filing divorce papers, which he has this whole cockamamie explanation as to why it is that it happened the next day.
I mean, Joe, if you were a federal investigator, would you look at this like a fraud investigator? Would you look at this and say, this looks to me exactly like a money laundering operation?
The entire thing just sounded. It seems
like Fani says, listen, I can funnel you like $750, $1 million. And you keep half and, send half back to me, and I'll put it in my getaway fund that I keep in the closet of my condo.
Yeah. And that kind of is what it seems like. Now, he was trying to downplay what percentage of it he brought home, but there was self-conflicting testimony there. He's saying we split a third because I was part of a three-man operation, and then later on he ends up admitting it's really became a two-man operation because Bradley was no longer a part and he and Bradley are fighting, and that while it was originally WBC, which is the WBC firm, which is a kick-ass name for a firm, they got rid of the B and now it's just WC firm, I guess, which is water closet firm. I don't know, but it's not nearly as powerful as WBC. I know that. So and then he ends up admitting that it came to him to his own personal law firm, which is just Nathan Wade Law Firm. So I don't know how it is that he's splitting a third. That sounds like a complete crock of crap. And it helps show how disingenuous he was. He was slimy, but you felt like she kept grabbing him for a moment and at least showing how slimy he was, and then moving on, and then grab him again. And after he's done testifying, after Nathan Wade is done testifying, that's when the fireworks really started erupting, because the prosecution, the state started arguing, saying that there's no reason that they had brought a motion to quash the subpoena to bring Fani Willis in there, and they start having this argument as to whether or not that should play out. And I want to share with you all exactly how this moment transpired in court, because this was a moment that just shocked the world. This shocked everyone. You have to understand, the state is arguing, quash the subpoena, don't make her take the stand. There's nothing to be benefited from her taking the stand. Anything about the relationship you need to know, we already got testimony on from Nathan Wade, and there's no reason for her to take the stand.
And they actually should have turned green at this moment, like the Hulk.
Yeah, well, anyhow, so here we have this is one of Michael Roman's co-defendants, and the attorney is named Gilliam. I don't know his first name, but he's attorney for one of the co-defendants, Gilliam, who's arguing on behalf of saying no, we need Fani Willis to take the stand. And she needs to come in here. Sorry about that. Let's slow this down to normal speed.
He's wearing a Trump tie.
Cash. Oh yeah, we got cash. Don't have any deposit slips. Don't have any record of it. Maybe Miss Willis can say, here, all my records where I paid $10,000 in cash.
And what he's talking about here is that in order to dissuade the court from believing that this was Fani looking to enrich herself, there was plenty of testimony from Nathan Wade, which was saying she paid her end of things all the time by giving me cash. She gave me cash all the time, tons of money in cash, and she gave me thousands of dollars in cash, and that's why there's no record of it, but she paid her share. So she wasn't benefiting from me getting this money because she paid me back for all the trips that we took together. And when he first testified to that, one of the attorneys guffawed out loud. It's so loud that he was like, "Oh yeah, she paid me back. She paid me back cash."
And $2,500. We're all walking around with $2,500 in cash.
One of the lawyers literally guffawed out loud, so much so that
why not just say she paid him back in bullion? Like, no, she just took like some gold doubloons out of her purse.
Well, there's so much so that the judge reacted and got mad at the lawyer who laughed and said, if you act like that again, I'm going to throw you out of this courtroom, because he was so outraged that the guy's name is Schaefer, that he like laughed out loud. Nate the lawyer was insane. You're right. If you want a link, let me know and I'll hook you up.
It's a good thing DWI guy wasn't in the courtroom.
I just want to share this here. So TextVet says, I followed Danny all day with the real cultist, so now I get to hear your views on it. What an insane day. My career involves a lot of AML work, and I'll tell you, Wade laid out the stages of money laundering to a
That's what I heard. That's what I heard in his testimony. It was money laundering all day long.
Good morning, Joe. And Georgia lawyer on MM said the longest grand jury trial in Georgia history. That's why he thinks she's dragging it out for money. Interesting. That's very interesting. Judge is allowing Fani to control the courtroom and the narrative. How will he remove her if he won't even control her in his courtroom? That's a real question. That's a real question. There's a lot that we need to analyze about that. They still be knocking boots. They should have had Milton Bradley. Yeah, I said Milton Bradley. I meant Terrence Bradley. Her base pay is reportedly $110K, but she claims to make up to $1.5 million more yearly in speaking and other engagements.
Wouldn't surprise me.
And this is where Fani effed herself. Well, let's watch this moment. He's making the argument that he's like, look, she said she paid cash, but like maybe she's able to show receipts for the cash withdrawals from ATMs. So that's why we need her on the stand.
Back to Mr. Wade. We need to know that. Also, Ms. Willis's financial disclosure. We let's not forget that. We're talking about two people who went to extraordinary lengths to hide their relationship, to hide the nature of their relationship. Extraordinary.
It was extraordinary lengths.
Take the stand, and she needs to tell this court and this courtroom why she filed financial disclosures in 2022, identifying prohibitive sources.
At least we know what Wade's price is to bang Fani. It's apparently $500,000 a year.
And we've seen
come on, that guy's playing it.
We've seen
he got compensated
up to around $10,000 in cash. Yet for the financial declaration for 2021, which was filed in April of 2022, and the financial declaration for 2022, which was filed in April of 2023. There is no listing of any gifts whatsoever over $100 from a prohibited source. It cries out for her testimony.
And that was another thing. She never admitted that she got any gifts, even though she admitted, and this is one of the places where she really screwed herself today, which I didn't get a chance much to talk about, which is that is where she admits the different treatment that she got from that she gave to Wade compared to everyone else in her office long before the contract started. That comes up much.
Why didn't you tell on the disclosure form? So
not everybody got a BJ.
The nature of the relationship between prohibitive sources and the public official, in this case, the district attorney, who happens to then make all in cash. Let her get up and let's. And obviously, we are advocates in our position, but that explanation.
God, why do these lawyers present so poorly? He looks so old and so tired. Jesus, dude, get a haircut.
It's a long day.
With his we've seen what happened here. Now, I'll just 2 or 3 more sentences. We need to have the full picture, as we've gotten from Mr. Wade, of his false interrogatory.
There we go.
Serious business for a lawyer.
Hear that walking?
And then suddenly he's changing.
I
thought that was the stampede.
Shows up. You heard
hand on hip
coming. She just shows up, hand on hip. Now I'm gonna tell you something.
I bet people can tell I have my hand on my hip right now. And just look at that head shake.
I'm gonna tell you something. It's like my mother-in-law, who happens to be
the most lovely woman in the world.
Amazing woman, really an amazing woman. But there's a running joke in the family that every time you see a picture of her where she's caught, like just, not a pose, but she's just sort of caught candidly, she has her hands on her sides like this, like she's like basically like she's the king of Siam or something like that. and this is how Fani Willis storms into the courtroom. That's the first thing I saw when I saw that arm on her hip. Like, I am here. Stand back. Look at the attitude.
I heard a lot of this complaint that she like took over the courtroom and the judge didn't control his courtroom. And if any normal person had walked in and done this, I would fully expect a judge to tell them to sit down and shut the fuck up.
Yep.
But she is an elected official.
Yeah.
Which makes it more awkward.
It does make it more awkward. Still, it's his courtroom. And I'm sorry. I felt that he cowered in the moment. Now, she also could have been reined in better by Ashley Merchant, and that's a large part of what I want to break down here. But her attitude when she walks in here, from the moment she walks in,
she makes it look like it's her courtroom.
Yeah,
no judge can allow that.
Exactly, that's true, and that's what I'm saying is I don't care if she's an elected official. I don't care if she's governor. She walks in like that. No. This is my house. You just walked into my house, and that's what I think the judge should have reined her in. And hopefully we see a more powerful. I think they were all caught off guard. I think nobody expected this. Look at the face of the attorney of Miss Cross here, Abby Cross. She's in shock. Like, what the hell are you doing here? Like, seriously, what are you doing here? Because she just made a whole argument that Fani Willis doesn't have to come in here, and her face is shock at seeing Fani Willis there. Fani is like, no, I am here, and I'm going to tell my story.
She just stabbed her counsel in the back.
She really did, because her counsel just had was making very strong arguments that Fani shouldn't have to be called. Now, frankly, as I was watching it, I believe I was commenting out loud because I know in my brain I was like, Fani Willis can't get out of this. She's not going to be able to get out of this because Nathan Wade testified to stuff, there's a lot of validating reasons as to why we need to see if her story conforms or conflicts with it. That's why we need to get her on the stand. So I don't see how, but I had already put up there in Twitter. I was like, Fani Willis is taking the stand. And then all of a sudden the objection came from Abby Cross, and I held it there for like 8 minutes while they're having this back and forth argument. And then sure enough, Miss Lady in Pink shows up.
We need her in here to go over.
He doesn't even realize that this other Gilliam guy.
What happened. He was asked the court that the court allow Ms. Willis to be called and interrogated on these matters.
And I would, to Your Honor.
Whoa!
Just a moment, Ms. Willis. So, Ms. Cross, I don't know if you want to speak with Ms. Willis now. It's sounding like maybe they're withdrawing the objection to the motion.
I believe the motion to.
Or does Ms. Willis want to take the lead here?
It's always nice when the lawyer and client are disagreeing in court.
Does Ms. Willis want to take the lead here? I mean, that's already deference that he's like, look, you're really the attorney of record, but I will allow Ms. Willis to take the lead if she's so inclined, right? I mean, you can see the judge is already like, he's flustered.
And the weird thing is, up to this point, from what I'd heard from this judge, he seemed to me like a reasonable judge in control of his courtroom, making reasonable decisions. And right here, confronted by the strong, angry black woman, he just collapses.
Seriously. Maybe it is the strong, angry black woman. I don't know. But he totally collapsed.
I draw the motion to quash Ms. Willis based on the. I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
So
I'm ready to go.
The position of the district attorney at this
then
point
look
is that
what
she's
she
no
does.
longer contesting the subpoena. Ms. Merchant is called as the next witness.
I love them when she sits in the chair and just lounges back like she's Uncle Ed at Thanksgiving.
She marches to the stand, and check out what she says as soon as she sits down.
I would ask, I need 3 documents in front of me, and they're the 3 filings of Ms. Merchant.
Who the hell are you?
I've testified in court many times. I've never just lounged back in the chair like it was a barking lounger and crossed my legs.
While issuing demands. I need documents. Like, what the hell is happening here? What the hell? And instead of people saying like, yo, lady, calm yourself. You know, you're a witness here. It's like she's making demands. And the thing is, she gets away with it because as I tried explaining, and I've sort of
the weird American culture we have today. It's
not just the weird American culture, because when you have an unusual circumstance, and I talk about this whenever I'm analyzing issues in the Constitution that don't come up frequently, like questions about presidential immunity, right, or things of that nature. So what I try explaining to my audience is when you have a circumstance that there's really no official rules that are dictated to it, what most often happens is that custom and habit are established by one person deciding this is the way things go in this scenario. and they are either challenged on it or they are not. And if they're not challenged on it, then that becomes the norm, because there's nothing written about it. So that becomes what is expected and what is the norm. So here
there's no law that says she can't conduct herself this way,
right?
Unless the judge doesn't like it. The judge is the law, right? So if he doesn't like it, he can chastise her over it.
Precisely.
But that's up to him.
And once he doesn't chastise it, he enables
she can do whatever
her.
She wants.
Exactly. He basically says, you have free reign to do whatever the hell you want. That's what happens by him sitting back and letting her sit down, saying, I'm going to take the stand now. I want to tell my story. Give me my documents. And she settles, as you say, settles back like she's in a Barker lounger. And when you and Ashley
and what
Merchant,
a good judge does, because this happens in court all the time, right? Because a lot of the people involved in the court proceeding are not lawyers and not judges. They don't understand the normal procedure. They might inadvertently cross the line of decorum in a courtroom, and the judge corrects them.
Right.
You don't do that. Don't do that in my courtroom. And then it stops. And is the normal procedure.
Yeah. And it's almost the best analogy you can have is basically, I think back to days where I was in high school or junior high, and the new teacher for that subject would just come in the room, and the effective teachers would invariably find that one person who was acting like the biggest slacker or displaying the most chutzpah or whatever it is, and that's the kid that you just sort of snap at as soon as that happens. And that brings everyone to alertness as like, okay, crap is not tolerated here. And then the entire tone for the room changes. But if you have a teacher who
if you don't control that kid, what happens?
Is that it just gets worse and worse and devolves.
And in the courtroom, if you don't control that witness, what happens? Not just for the other witnesses, for the lawyers too. When the lawyers can scent blood, when they feel they can push that judge around, they will do it relentlessly. Because I can tell you, I've done it on behalf of my client.
100%. You know where we saw that in the most famous case that I remember seeing that was with Schrader. When Judge Schrader, that they basically Binger knew he can push him around, and even if he's exactly in the Rittenhouse case,
he would talk loud, but he wouldn't hold anybody accountable.
Precisely. Even when he got mad, he would just yell. But it's almost like I had some teachers who, when they were yelling, you knew that they're not going to punish me.
So Binger knew he could reach as far as he wanted to.
Yep, and that he could basically ignore the Fifth Amendment, and there'd be no consequence. So. So let's go a little further, and you see the attitude that's exuding from her right away, and you could start to see how Ashley Merchant is not ready for this. She's not ready for Fani, and she should.
So for normal people, you should understand that in a judge's courtroom, everybody is subordinate to that judge. And I know that word has a bad connotation in the modern era, but subordinate just means he's the boss of the courtroom. You defer to him. That's how it's supposed to work. There's nothing like that happening here.
Yep, not at all. Quite the contrary. She's displaying it's her room. Watch Ashley Merchant. Listen to her questions here. And if anything, it's like the judge gives Fani Willis greater leash to strangle Ashley.
The questions were not great, Joe.
No, I'm not. I agree with you. I said she wasn't ready for this moment. She wasn't ready.
Does anyone have the 3 filings of Ms. Merchant? Does the court have the
What
3
the
filings?
hell?
She's like the court clerk now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, just watch what's happening here. Like, who are you to basically start making demands? But that's what's happening.
I've literally never seen that in my life. 33-year career in law.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Witness demanding documents and filings.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is, but the unusual situation we're in is, here's a district attorney who's about to be cross-examined, who's about to face direct testimony or inquiry into her love life after, she's basically been besmirched, and she's like, feeling her righteous indignation.
Not really direct though, right? It's hostile questioning, so it's really more like cross.
It is more like cross, and we're going to come to that moment very soon. Very early in the questioning, we come into this, and the judge is
obviously a hostile witness,
right? But then it's actually, so the judge actually points out she's an adverse witness, and I'll walk you all through what the connotations of that are. We'll see it very quickly.
The pleadings, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I think we could locate those for you.
It's like the judge is now the court clerk.
One filed on January the 8th.
When you say work with Willis or Wade, they were judges. No, they were not judges in Superior Court. I believe they were like both in municipal court. I'm not sure where Willis was a judge. I know that Wade was like a traffic court type of judge, which this judge is far superior to that. This judge worked under her for a couple of years. Google it. Oh,
that would be awkward.
That could explain.
He would have to hate her then.
But that could explain a lot. That could explain a lot.
He should have recused himself.
Yeah.
If you want to take a break to get them, I can make a copy. I think we have one.
I guess he would say, I'm not going to recuse Mr. from every case she's
I have
on.
my notes on it. So if we don't have a clean copy,
We have a 5-minute break during.
Let's
I'll get
take
the document.
No, but this isn't the case she's on. It's a case she's.
What? It's case.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Were we talking about the judge worked with Ashley or Fanny?
With Fanny.
Well, then, yeah, that's kind of awkward.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that maybe that's why he was capped. I don't know if they gave the 5-minute break here or not. All right, so I'm going to fast forward to the end of this break, which is a little bit more than 5 minutes, and because I want to get to like the very start of questioning where she actually tells the judge, "Swear me in." It's like craziness that's happening.
You swear me, Your Honor? Whomever would like to.
let's go. Wait a minute. Let everyone get situated, and then we'll go back on the record.
Objects to cross-examination. That would be hilarious. The judge worked under Fanny, can confirm. Yeah.
That must have stunk.
Yeah. Can you imagine living with this? Oh my God.
Joe, you missed the joke.
All
Oh.
right, we are back on the record. Deputy Scott, if you could swear in our next witness.
I would, and I do apologize.
Listen to how she gives her name.
Do me a favor. Hold on, I need some of these glasses. After you swear me, don't worry about it. You can swear, you can go ahead and swear because I don't know what the full. Yes, sir. District Attorney Fani, Fani.
My name is District Attorney Fani Willis. My name is not Fani Willis. My name is District Attorney.
That's probably on her driver's license. She had her birth certificate updated.
I'm going to tell you this. Anyone who needs to put a title in front of their title in front of themselves has real issues. They got issues, insecurity issues, anger issues, some issues. They got definite deep-seated issues. And you ever hear someone take the stand and say, "I'm district attorney"? I mean, or any title. No one gives a title when they what's your name? State your name for the record. District Attorney Fani Willis.
I will say, it looks like she got those boobs from whatever the Chinese version of IKEA is.
Yeah, discount. She's over 50, so.
And how did you know to come into the courtroom right then?
Because there were people I was pacing in my office.
Okay.
By the way, this is probably the best question that Ashley Merchant asked the entire time, which is the first question, which is, how did you know to come in here? She's not allowed to be watching the testimony.
She wasn't called in.
She wasn't called in. What made you think that we were discussing you? How did you know we're discussing you? What made you think to come in the room right now? And the answer she gives is a crap answer, but Ashley lets her get away with it.
And how did you know to come into the courtroom right then?
Because there were people I was pacing in my office.
Okay.
And I heard someone yell, "His testimony is done." It only made sense to me that I would be your next witness. And I've been very anxious to have this conversation with you today. So I ran to the court.
So as soon as you heard that Mr. Wade was done testifying,
I want footage of that.
You would be the next witness.
It only makes sense.
It only makes sense. Understand this. It doesn't make sense. I didn't think she was going to be the next witness.
She was fighting to the last second against testifying. So how would it only make sense?
It's precisely. And they also kept saying that Bradley was the key. And what Ashley Merchant said early this morning is, after we do Wade, we'll do Bradley. So no, there was no discussion about this, and there's no explanation as to how Fani Willis knew to come in there at that moment, other than the fact that she was watching and she saw them all arguing about whether or not Fani should testify.
Right,
So,
like a herd of wildebeest, she was startled by the testimony of the earlier witnesses.
yeah, I see what you're doing.
Did you listen to any of the testimony?
I've been in my office pacing, ma'am.
Did you listen to any of the arguments?
I did hear the arguments this morning. It's ridiculous to me that you lied on Monday, and yet here we still are. And I
See, already, it's a yes or no. Did you hear the arguments? And there's all this commentary that Ashley Merchant is allowing her to do, right? So, I mean, that's not controlling her. And I think she's a little bit, I don't know, she's either ill-prepared or overcome by the moment.
She's asking her first few questions. The witness is going to talk and say shit that you don't want them to say. You can't control that. What you have to be able to do is use that to your advantage.
Right. Okay. So, and there is sometimes you do want the person to go off on the mouth, but over here, this is a witness who you would think, and if you're going to be critical, and it's easier Monday morning quarterback. I understand that. It's much easier afterwards to look back and see, here's your mistake, here's a mistake, here's a mistake, than when you're actually there in the moment. It's much, 1,000 times more challenging when you're there in the moment. But that doesn't mean we can't look back and say, okay, look, this is something that on review, if you're in a similar circumstance, you sort of want to assess and say, let's handle this differently.
Oh, fair enough, Joe. But come on, when you're questioning a witness, it's very common. The first few questions are kind of the easygoing, relaxing, opening the door. You're not expecting the witness to say, fuck you and your mother's a whore in response to the first question. So you're not right?
But she also is a woman who demanded she takes the stand, starts making demands from
it's all unusual.
Give me the complaints. She's displaying her personality before you even ask her a question. She's displaying her ire, her anger, and that's why once it's directed at Ashley, I think Ashley has to be like, "Whoa!"
The first time it happens, Ashley has to completely adjust her view of this witness.
Right at this answer. Yeah,
but the first one I give her, that first sucker punch, all right, you weren't ready for that. But after that, you better be, you are on notice now.
Right. And she doesn't seem to do anything to basically hit back at Fani for it.
All right, so that was it, just the argument, no testimony.
Right, I listened to the argument this morning where Adam Abadi, I thought, did an excellent job pointing out how dishonest you were with the court on Monday.
No. That's the second sucker punch. Sorry, you get one.
Yeah, exactly. But instead of saying, asking the court to direct the witness to answer the question and to redact the ad hominem, hostility, that's
Your Honor. Me and the witness could call each other liars all day, and one of us might be right. But I would ask you to redirect the witness to answer the actual questions being answered.
There you go.
But since it did, here I am.
Great. So let's just talk about what you did in preparation for today. Did you meet with Mr. Wade at all? Once the motion was filed, did you meet with Mr. Wade and talk to him about the motion that I filed to disqualify you?
On this first January motion?
Yes.
I don't know if you could say talked about. I probably had some choice words about some of the things that you said that were dishonest within this motion. So
Your Honor.
The conversation.
Yes, exactly.
We're here to determine whether or not those things are true or not.
Right.
Mr. Wade is a Southern gentleman. Me, not so much.
Okay, but my question was...
That's her way of putting Ashley on notice. I'm a viper.
She's threatening me?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Is this witness threatening me?
That's precisely what I'm saying. She's displaying and
Your Honor, I would ask you direct the witness not to threaten counsel.
Yeah, and she's being very open and notorious in her display of an ambition to bite off the head of the questioning attorney and showing utter disrespect in a way that's intolerable. You can't have that in a direct examination.
Right. So in the courtroom, folks, to remind everybody, what we're supposed to be doing here is it's a pursuit of something resembling the truth. It's not supposed to be a Walmart bitch fight.
Yeah. And that's what it's like. Literally, if they were close enough, she'd be pulling her hair. and like tugging her to the floor.
Did you have a conversation with
I didn't
him?
have a substantive conversation.
You did not.
I read this motion, skimmed it more so, and
Skimmed it is a way of saying F you, I wouldn't even read your stupid crap, even though it's very clear she read every freaking word of it 6 times.
I've probably said some choice things to him about
Like what?
some of the lies.
I would ask her, like what? What choice things did you say?
Because, you know, we used to
Let's have the judge hear the choice things you had to say that you thought were so important that you had to say them. They were choice. What were they?
in a day and time where you had 60 minutes.
Did it rhyme with punt?
Stories and they verified information, and you had this great reporting. But it seems today that a lawyer writes a lie, and then it's printed for all of the world to see.
Well, I just want to make sure that you answer the question I asked, though. So my question was,
See, she's getting up on a
Way
soapbox.
too deferential. Way too deferential at this point.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She's laying down for her. And
No,
and
the lawyer asking the questions is not at a lower level than the witness answering the questions. I don't care what the witness's title is.
yeah,
Overruled, Mr.
and she's even getting objected to.
Gowdy.
Because she looks weak. That's why she's getting objected to.
Yes. Yeah.
I would object too if I was on the other side.
I'm sure I told him what my opinion of it is. And past that, we had no substantive conversation.
you did not. Correct.
Is there something you didn't understand?
No, I just wanted to make sure that
Okay.
you did not have.
You didn't understand. Like, listen to the tone. Like, it's like
It's so
Wow.
passive. It's so tail between the legs.
Meeting with him in the conference room to discuss the motion.
Next question,
No.
Ms. Merchant.
So in the
and she's getting pushed along. That's what I'm saying. She's still not getting answers, and she's getting pushed along by the judge. The judge,
Because the judge sees her as weak.
Yes.
It's the easier choice for the judge.
and that's what happened.
He's going to fight. The judge is going to fight with this angry black woman in the witness stand, or the passive lawyer.
Precisely. So that's what I'm saying is Ashley's asking for this to get slapped around, and she got slapped around most of this direct.
Just like
in
most
the
women.
conference room of my office, within this week, you produced some financial document. That financial document was given to me, something, and I'm not even sure who's giving it to him, by me or Mr. Abadi gave it to me. And I think he showed me a document in our conference room. But as far as a substantive conversation, I don't believe I've had any conversation with him that is substantive related to this.
Okay.
I have had conversations with him since you filed the motion.
About how much of a bitch you are.
Substantive to this. He's sent me very nice sermons that have been done. And so we've had
What the hell are we even
conversations
talking
about,
about
did
at
you
this
listen
point?
to
No one
that
knows
sermon?
what she's talking about.
You know, things
She's
of that
taking
nature.
She's
over and
talking
saying-
about what she wants to talk about, which is what you're not supposed to allow to happen.
Precisely.
Let's start back in 2019.
Yeah.
So you and Mr. Wade.
You ask a question. If they deviate from the question, you stop them and say, I just need you to answer the question. Your Honor, direct the witness to answer the question.
And it's also, but it's not just how she's answering, but she's not answering pointed questions. She's giving Fani an opportunity to climb up onto a soapbox with the nature of the questions she's asking. Let's listen.
Terrible questioning. I objected to this all day today. I didn't hear this part of it, but I heard other parts. I felt all the questions were way too ambiguous. They need to be scalpel precise. So you're pinning the witness down to giving very specific answers. When you're ambiguous, you get ambiguous replies. And
Yep.
What the fuck is the point of that? Sorry, Joe.
That's all right.
In October 2019 at a conference.
That is correct. And I think in one of your motions, you tried to implicate I slept with him at that conference, which
You see, also, and she's talking about what was written in the motion. She asked a simple yes or no question. She used to be like, objection, asked, the move to strike is non-responsive. It's a yes or no question. Pin her down. Pin her.
And then when she responds that you suggested I slept with him at that conference, the lawyer should say, madam, I couldn't care less who you sleep with. That's not the question.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't even give that courtesy to her. I'd be like, I would just move I would move straight to the judge and be like, Your Honor, I'm just looking. It's a yes or no question. And I asked, did you meet at the conference in 2019? And
I'm forgetting there's no jury here is my problem.
Yeah, there is no jury.
Right.
Right.
There's no jury.
I
Fair
find
enough.
extremely offensive. I stayed at that conference. Mr. Wade was my teacher. I did not meet him
What the hell are we
when he
talking
taught the
about?
class.
It's like going on and
I
on.
was standing outside talking to Lisa Reeves, who is a judge. Me and her were just having a conversation.
And this is
Mr.
about to end
Wade
soon.
walks up. I think they hug
Well,
each other.
sort of.
Your Honor, Your Honor, Your Honor, we need the witness to just answer. We're going to be here. Your Honor, we'll be here a week. That's what I would say.
Here
Just
comes-
because judges hate to be overtime. Judge, we'll be here 4 days if you don't instruct the witness to simply answer the question yes or no. We will be here forever. Judges hate that.
And
We
here-
will be here forever. Please instruct the.
Yeah, and that way you're appealing to the judges, to what the judges' self-interest, right, of wanting to keep things short. Right now, Ashley Merchant's going to get some help from one of her co-defendants counsel. I think it's Sado, but I'm not sure.
Object. We kind of thought that when you asked the question, you didn't answer the question, not a speech, so I object to the speech.
I agree,
I believe I'm
Judge.
able to explain my answers.
I believe she's able to explain her answers.
And that's,
Ms. Merchant, that's okay. I can handle it. Ms. Willis, I'll ask you just listen to the answer, or excuse me.
But can the judge handle it?
The question as best you can. I think you'll have more than enough ample opportunity on when the state.
It's highly offensive when someone lies on you, and it's highly offensive
Even
when they
now,
try
it's
to
just-
implicate that you slept with somebody the first day you met with them. And
Do we allow white witnesses to be angry white witnesses on the witness stand? I'm not sure I've seen that.
Paul Young says, gives one membership. God bless you, brother. I appreciate that. Texas vet. She's a courtroom Karen. Better hope she doesn't get her eyes on your cult, Joe Solo. She'll become leader and make us stop digging tunnels and force Kool-Aid on us. No, she's not allowed into. It's not a cult type of cult. An angry black woman with ill-fitting underwear, you'd be cranky too. That's pretty good. She got the Ashley Merchant booty shorts pick in her office and throws darts at it, and a Trump weeble wobble she beats when she walks by. That's probably true. Move to strike was never said in this hearing, and it should have been over and over. The "oh no, you didn't" defense. That's what we're watching
Well,
here.
Ms. Willis, she'll have the opportunity to explain all of that when it's the state's turn to ask more open-ended questions.
Yeah.
Ms. Merchant.
Yeah.
thank you, Judge. So again, my question was, you all met at that conference though, right?
we did the
Okay.
meeting. As I stated, he taught the class. I did not actually meet him when he taught the class.
Look at how long she's going on.
I
What about
walked out of the class,
question? When did
and
you
I'm
meet?
not sure if it was that exact class or
No
we had
one
went to
cares
lunch.
about
But
your.
we were standing in the vestibule, like outside of the class. Me and Judge Reeves were having a conversation. She had worked at a law firm I worked at back in 1996.
We're getting way afar. I mean, I
It's like, what are we
don't
talking
mind her
about?
explaining her answers, but I literally just asked if they met at that conference.
It's like every wife story from work, right? Then Karen told Susan that Sarah said this.
Yeah. And meanwhile, prosecution is like, yeah, let me try and bitch slap Ashley Merchant and basically say, no, she's totally Fanny's totally justified in giving these lengthy, ridiculously stupid answers.
It was
These answers are more than appropriate.
Ms. Merchant, if you want more concise answers, perhaps you could lead the witness.
I will. Thank you, Judge.
So this is where we get into leading the witness, which is I need to sort of explain to you the concept of leading the witness. You've almost certainly heard, if you watch enough trials, objection leading. You're not allowed to lead a witness that you call to the stand is the general rule. That is the general rule. There is an exception to that rule.
Explain what leading means, Joe. Most people don't know what leading means.
A leading question is a question which forces the witness to answer one way, this way, or that way. You're supposed.
I disagree. I disagree. A leading question is a question that offers the answer in the question. Isn't it true that you left at 8 p.m. that night?
I have a
And the
broader
witness then knows
leading.
to say, well, yeah, I left at 8 p.m. that night.
Okay. I think leading even implies if you just a yes or no question to me is a leading question. That's how I look at it. You're looking at it as not simply a yes or no question, but a yes or no that's leading towards yes or leading.
You're
towards no.
suggesting the answer to the witness.
Right. So that's certainly I would qualify that definitely as leading. I even would say it's leading when you're asking just a simple yes or no question. You're supposed to ask open-end questions. So somewhere in between there, either my broad definition of leading or Andrew's more narrow definition,
Or the correct definition offered by me.
is the appropriate definition. But the situation where you're allowed to lead a witness, you're not allowed to lead a witness in general when you call them to the stand. The exception to that is two scenarios. One is if they are an adverse party. So in a civil suit, you're allowed to call an adverse party, and there is an assumption that they are going to be hostile. And once there's an assumption, because of that assumption, we assume that that their adverse interests are going to make them very difficult for you. And that's why that's why in the rules of procedure in every jurisdiction they say you're allowed to lead an adverse witness, even if you're the one who calls them to the stand. We're not going to penalize you that, oh, you called them to the stand, now you can't lead them. We recognize the scenario here and the dynamics are that you can't give them open questions. Otherwise, you get testimony like this crap.
Because the opposite is if they're a cooperative witness, right? They're a witness you're calling who wants to help you. They're not resisting giving you the truth. So it's easier to ask them non-leading questions to get to. So tell us what happened that Thursday at 8 p.m. And then they give an expansive answer. But as you say, if they're a hostile witness, or I'm sure Joe was going to get to this, on cross-examination, it's presumed they're a hostile witness. So you can ask leading questions because they're not going to be cooperative at arriving at the truth. They're trying to resist your questioning.
Precisely. And in a situation where you have the choice of being able to ask leading questions because the rules of the court allow that, you're almost
great.
It's almost foolish to avoid it, to ask any questions that are not leading. Because if you want to get the testimony that you're trying to elicit, you have to force that witness down that road. And
every question becomes, isn't it true that this happened? And then they have to answer yes or no.
Right. Now, when the judge says over here so now the question is, let's say sometimes you'll call a witness to the stand and you might expect that they're going to be cooperative, but while you're in the middle of actually doing your direct examination, they start fighting you in their testimony and arguing with you or giving you answers that are completely different from what they had stated earlier. At that point, you can look to the court and say permission to treat this witness as a hostile witness. And then if the court agrees with you that this is someone who's being hostile to you, they will grant you that permission. And that opens up the doorway that now you can treat them. Now you can give them leading questions. So we're about to see here is a back and forth here where this crazy attorney from the state is like, there's no hostility here. Why should you be allowed to ask leading questions? Check out this back and forth exchange because I was laughing.
Just look at this demeanor. Is there no hostility here? She's already called counsel a liar multiple times.
Yeah, you're so full of crap. Your lies that you're all over your papers. Check out this
concise answers. Perhaps you could lead the witness.
I will. Thank you, Judge. Isn't it true that you met Mr. Wade October 2019 at the judges conference?
We haven't gotten to the point where Mr.
Leading question. Objection.
He just told her to ask leading questions, and he's objecting to the leading question. This kid attorney from the state.
I think
I very much want to be here, so I'm not a hostile witness. I very much want to be here.
So much.
That's not what makes you a hostile or not hostile witness. Just because you want to be there doesn't mean you're not hostile.
Oh my God, the legal profession is collapsing before my eyes.
This is the district attorney of Fulton County who thinks that what qualifies a witness as being hostile or not hostile is whether or not they want to be there. No, I want to be here to skunk your case is precisely what makes you the most hostile witness. You couldn't.
So when I went to law school, Fani would have been one of the 6 dumbest students in my class. And we all presumed she would just go into some government job and God willing would never actually be representing a client in court. And that may actually have happened. I don't know. I guess she had some defense counsel experience ultimately, unfortunately. But here she is. So this is what I always caution people about, folks. So when we see the collapse of America as we know it, part of it is people go to law school. And if they go to law school and they're indoctrinated to be progressive fascists, those people end up becoming lawyers. And then those lawyers end up becoming prosecutors. And then those prosecutors end up becoming judges. And those judges become appellate court judges. And some of them become U.S. Supreme Court judges. And there you have Sotomayor.
The evolution of a Sotomayor. Look, to be fair, they're usually very good at licking boots. They're very, very good at licking boots and rubbing elbows. So you need to develop that skill if you're going to go that route.
That you're hostile, Miss Willis, would be an adverse witness. Your interests are opposed to Miss Merchant's.
So you see, right now he's like, I don't care whether or not you want to qualify this as her being hostile. She's an adverse witness, in which case you can start off with the with leading questions.
Thank you.
Merchant's interests are contrary to democracy, Your Honor, not to mine.
That's where you should
I've been in the witness stand,
smacking her
more than a dozen times. I can't imagine talking to a judge that way.
Yeah, seriously. And the judge also, yeah, he just sits there like taking it, like, oh, okay, you know, she's gonna let her mouth off whatever she wants to mouth.
All right, let's
Judge, I
proceed.
would just ask that
We can keep things moving. Miss Merchant, next question,
Thank you.
please.
See, he's really chastising the lawyer there. Keep things moving. Like, let's just ignore what
he doesn't want to take any more heat from this witness. He's like, I don't want to keep having these interchanges with the witness. Just keep asking questions, keep getting answers. I don't want to be involved.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think that this would have gone a lot more smoothly if he had gotten more directly involved.
Okay, so we've confirmed when you met. After that, isn't it true?
No, I need to explain this, and I think
No, there's no question.
I'm sorry.
No,
You're a witness. You don't get to explain anything.
Yeah. And she should shut her up right here and now, but she doesn't.
Judge Reeves introduced us.
Who cares?
He handed me
I didn't even ask you that question once.
business card. I'm unsure if I handed him my business card.
No one
but
gives
we-
a damn.
This lawyer should be saying, Your Honor, Your Honor, Your Honor, Your Honor, Your Honor, Your Honor.
Yep. Like a pesky little kid.
exchanged information. He said, if you ever need any help, give me a call. And he walked to the parking lot.
So after that, you started dating shortly thereafter, correct?
That's a lie. That's one of your lies.
Your Honor,
Nothing.
I would ask you to direct the witness to stop calling me a liar. I'm merely asking her questions.
Yep. Yeah.
I know her as Robin Bryant. I knew her.
And this is why the left media is reporting that Fani took control of this questioning.
She did.
Because she did.
She did. There's no question about it.
Robin did not go to my college. She went to the college of, I went to Howard University. She went to Morgan State. I met her through some people I knew. In college, we hung out a bit, not much because she was in Baltimore and I was in Washington, D.C. But we hung out a bit. After college, I lost contact with her. I probably
Look at
didn't
this. We're
see
getting her
Robin
whole
again
stupid life
until
story.
maybe 7 or 8
If I want your life story, I'll buy you a damn autobiography.
years ago, a chance meeting here in Atlanta, but we did not have a consistent.
And a lot of people will say it's good to let the witness hang themselves. And that's frequently the case. It is frequently the case that, you know, if you feel
If they're doing that.
but that's not what's happening here.
No.
She clearly
this is all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, she clearly has sufficient self-control to know, you know, exactly where to push and what to not say, when to shut her mouth.
And she knows there's a limited number of hours in the court day. Right?
Yeah.
And the more minutes of those hours you fill up, the more of the day you consume with nonsense, with fluff. And eventually the judge is going to say, well, we spent 8 hours with this witness. That's enough.
Yeah. So these are all reasons that it's great for her to filibuster, and it's terrible for Ashley Merchant to allow her to filibuster. And let me just hit you up over here. It's now been proven what dress she's wearing and that Fani has her on backwards. It's possible. It really is possible. I don't know. It's a good question. That's a great question.
Relationship from when I left college and came to Emory Law School here in Atlanta. But 8 to 10 years ago, just by happenstance, I ran into her. So she was in Atlanta.
It is unfortunate how poorly some women age, though. I got to say that.
Did you hear my answer, madam?
Yes, and I'm asking if you've been friends with her for 30-something years.
I've known her for 30-something years. We certainly hung out and partied together.
It's not a matter of how much fun it is. It's a matter of it's a matter of you're losing control of the room. She needs to be in control of the room. And I'll tell you something, when you're dealing with a hostile witness or you're dealing on cross-examination, the objective is, and this is something that they teach you in law school, even and when you take trial advocacy, or at least advanced trial advocacy, is that when you have someone on direct who is friendly and someone that you want the jury or the trier of fact to hear their story. You want to shrink yourself and basically give them an opportunity to shine and tell their story. When you have someone who is hostile, that's when you really need to strut and take over the room. That's part of effective litigation, is that you're the one who's in control. You're the one who's dictating the pace, the tone, the direction of everything that's happening. The judge just told Ashley Merchant,
and
I'm
it's
granting
so
you that
easy
leeway.
To convey that to the jury, because you can just ask the judge, please, judge, instruct the jury to the witness to simply answer my questions. And then if they repeatedly don't do that, they lose all credibility with the jury.
Right. And you also need to understand that a large part of what's happening here is the story that's playing in the media. And you need to recognize that Fani is, she's very good at the PR. So that's how it's part of the way she got to the position she's in. And you need to sort of take hold of that and recognize that she's looking to dominate this so that they will report great things about how she's in the right and she vindicated herself and showed the strength of women and black women and the strength of a black female district attorney. That's what she's looking for here. And you are basically serving as, it's not she's climbing on a soapbox. She's climbing on Ashley Merchant. And Ashley Merchant is her soapbox in this moment. She brings up her father. It's a threat. Her he's Black Panther. I didn't even know about that.
College. She was from the DC area. She would come home, we'd party together. Wasn't close, but she was certainly in the girlfriends that party together. And then, like I said, I ran into her about 10 years ago in Atlanta, Georgia. But we didn't talk throughout that time period. I didn't see her. I didn't even know where she was. When I ran into her, I was surprised she was in Atlanta. And so, yes, I have known her probably since 1990, 1991, but we have not maintained a consistent relationship that whole time.
For the last 10 years or 5, whatever you'd like to classify it as, have you been friends with her?
This is the problem with this lawyer's questioning. I think it's horrible because she's asking questions that have ambiguity built into them that the witness can take advantage of. Mm-hmm. Have you been friends with her? Don't ask that goddamn question. What's it mean to be a friend? That's ambiguous. Have you known her for 30 years? That's unambiguous. That's an objective question.
Have you arranged to meet her in social situations? Limited, just short thing, and you also know
she keeps asking, not just Fani. She does this with all these witnesses. Do you have receipts? And the guy says, well, I don't have a receipt. Well, Joe, I went to Costco yesterday. I bought stuff. I got a receipt and I threw it away. I can honestly say I don't have a receipt. That doesn't mean I didn't go to Costco. If the point of the question is not the receipt, but where I went, you ask the point of the question. Did you go to Costco yesterday?
Yeah, this case is going to take a very long time. It is with all these defendants here. There's no question. Assuming none of the others flip, which who knows how many will flip.
Over a year. I certainly do not consider her a friend now.
And you should have known this because you know that they're fighting with each other. And that's part of the problem with this question, that it's too open. It's too broad, as Andrew just pointed out.
There's a saying, no good deed goes unpunished. And I think that she betrayed our friendship.
So let's narrow it down the timeline
look at
now.
this.
So my questions are going to be...
You just gave her an opportunity to explain that she's got bias and that she wronged Fani. That's essentially what this question did with the way you worded it. That now Fani is the one who's been wronged by her, and because basically Robin Ureta is some evil, vindictive bitch, which is that's essentially how Fani just portrayed her. And how is that helping? How is that helping you? Rather, you're trying to establish that she knows that Robin knows you well, and that's why you confided in her. And instead, you just gave an opportunity for Fani to flip that 180 degrees, and she's evil. That's why she lied about me.
And this defense lawyer had previously brought up the subject of cohabitation, and in the pretrial hearings leading up to this questioning, and the topic had come up that it may be ambiguous. That cohabitation could mean like we both buy a house together, or it could mean we just sleep in the same residence overnight occasionally. And then when she's asking the questions, the lawyer buys right into the same ambiguity again.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else. I want to address this in a moment because I think a lot of you are probably thinking the same thing, and I want to address, and I will address this because it's important. But we saw the same thing with respect to the term personal relationship. They were so afraid of using the term sexual relationship, physical relationship, intimate relationship that they started using personal relationship, which is obviously way too ambiguous.
Right.
Wouldn't establish the point that you're looking to establish.
What does that mean? I've got a personal relationship with Joe. We ate pizza together.
Yeah,
I still haven't banged him.
Yeah, and yet. But I want to get to this over here, Battle Cam, because I understand what you're saying, and this is the vibe a lot of people got when they were watching this. This is the vibe everyone got. You're looking at her and you're like, wow, what a bitch. That's anyone who's sane, who's watching this, who just lands here, even if you don't know anything about this trial, you don't know it's related to Trump, you don't know anything. When you watch this exchange, you think to yourself, wow, what a grade A bitch. I get that. But you have to listen to the words that are coming out of her mouth and what it is that she's saying. It's true, her tone is very hostile, very aggressive, very and some people will read it as she's evil. Other will look at it as righteous indignation because she's been wronged. Some people read it two completely different ways, and that's everyone on the left.
A third way. There's a third way in that everything she's done may be technically illegal, but we don't care because she's on our team.
Right. Precisely. And you're just trying to find some way to escape culpability, even though you're the bad guys. So, and that's how everyone on the left is looking at this testimony.
Right.
And that's
exactly
why,
right.
And that's why you really need to look at the testimony, the words that are coming out there. Like, what are you establishing? What are you proving to anyone who's trying to elicit facts?
Which are driven by the questions that are being asked. And they're not being asked in a surgical way. And
no testimony that Ashley Merchant is eliciting here is helping to get to get her motion a nod of victory. So
this is most of the testimony I heard today earlier, and that's how I felt the whole time, Joe. I felt like Ashley's questions were not eliciting anything. I didn't feel like it was driving a narrative to getting these people disqualified from bringing this prosecution. Other people told me, well, of course, I haven't watched the whole trial. They're like, well, what she's doing is she's kind of floating facts up to the surface that other lawyers will take advantage of in a more coherent narrative. And I know there was questioning after this.
That's where we're going.
I don't know if they
did
that or not.
That's where we're going to right now. I want to show you. I want to contrast what we saw from Ashley Merchant and show you how Sido, which is Trump's attorney, how he handled it.
No, I'm ready to go, Your Honor.
All right.
I'm ready to go. What is best in life?
Watch the opening here.
Hear the lamentations of the women.
You got to hear this.
I'm going to try to ask you questions that you can actually answer without having to explain. Okay?
Yes, sir. My comprehension skills are pretty good, so we should do all right.
We shall soon see.
That's his slap back at her. Well, we'll soon see. You're sitting here giving me lip already. We'll soon see whether that's true.
I heard you correctly. You moved into what I will refer to as the Yurti condo in either March or April of 2021. Is that correct?
Sometime between late February.
Just say yes or no.
So we're clear, yes, but in that time period, you're in the ballpark. We're in the ballpark.
Okay. And is that Yurti condo, would you say that it is in Hapeville?
It is in Hapeville, yes, sir.
And you moved in there for safety reasons?
Look at that.
My father, yes, I moved in there. We were concerned. My father was terribly concerned about me continuing to live at the house, and
that is a yes or no question.
It is, and he's going to use her mouthing off now. He actually is happy she's saying this. He's about to use it again.
5 o'clock in the morning, about the police brutality cases, saying I was going to have a wake up call. There were security threats,
Your Honor.
gang cases.
You'll see.
And there were concerns due to the that was at the very beginning of this, looking into that, and so for all of those reasons,
look how thick those forearms are.
Begrudgingly, I left.
Okay, so the answer to the question was a yes for safety reasons, correct?
Those were all of the things that caused the safety concerns. I'm sorry.
I'm not questioning whether they are or are not safety concerns. I just asked that you moved into this condo, the RT condo,
Right.
for safety reasons, right?
Yes.
Okay. at the time that you moved into the condo, be it from February to April of 2021,
Yes.
was your father still living?
Look at the
in
demeanor change. The
Because
chat noted it.
That's all I ask you.
Yep. And now
Look, she looked like she's on a date now. I would love to go to that restaurant. That sounds lovely.
Yeah. It's very, very different. There's a Fed troll in the Ghetto Rumble chat and no moderator. I apologize for that.
What's the Ghetto Rumble? Joe, what are you up to these days?
Yeah, I'm gonna whatchamacallit? I'm gonna mute this user. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I apologize.
I can see with this facial expression, it would be much easier for Fanny to get some action.
Mute for this live stream. All right, I apologize that I really wasn't checking there. And Dano says Tyler Perry's Medea goes to court. That's pretty funny. I actually missed a whole bunch. Breck Nichols said, "Get in here, Nate." I sent him a link just so you know. I apologize. I got tied up here with Andrew. You're very distracting, Andrew.
I'm sorry. That's what all the ladies say, Joe. Don't feel bad.
That is what they say. So yeah, I took care of live supporter MAGA, who was spamming the chat. I hope you all are good now. All right. Scroll up. There's one more. There's another guy up above. I muted that guy for the rest of this chat. So for the rest of this stream. Oh, I see who you're talking about here. I see who you're talking about. All right, I'll mute that guy for this live stream also. All right, thank you. I appreciate you guys calling that to my attention. And Johnny Reb, what is this?
By the way, probably within the next 10, 20 minutes, my wife is going to drag me away from this. So just
all right. I want you to get to the good stuff.
I get to explain the answer, sir.
I don't know if there's an explanation. If I ask you, was your father still living at your house? The answer is either he was or he wasn't.
See?
Yes, but you are going to get to argue at the end of this, as we both know.
And that's not your concern. You're a witness. That's not your concern. So yeah, I don't care.
I'm going to argue anything. I'm going to ask.
To be able to explain why.
I'm going to.
So yes, because my father is an older gentleman, he was worried
Your
about
Honor.
it, and he stayed.
Your Honor, we need control of this witness.
And the judge senses that, so now he starts controlling her. He senses he has a different attorney up there now, and that's why he starts controlling Fanny.
Whenever we have to put a pause, we stop testifying, okay? You don't have a chance to explain yourself. The question was whether your father was not staying there at the time, and you're clarifying that.
It's true, Wellesley.
In your answer as well.
Oh, what is he? Such feminine hand. What is all this?
Well,
oh my gosh.
Mr. Sadal, we can re-ask the question. We'll see where it takes us.
Okay, thank you.
I wouldn't want to look at his hard drive.
Was your father still living in your house at the time you moved to what I would refer to as a Yurti condo?
Yes.
To answer your question, Dapper Dave, yes, he does realize they're playing word games, but unless you can establish, and here's really the question for the judge, like how much lack of integrity, how much credibility do you need to attach to there? If they give a fig leaf veneer of there's a plausible explanation of that she paid cash and she claims she keeps cash around, so he has that fig leaf and he's looking to find a basis to say, well, she didn't really gain from it, even though that doesn't really answer the question, because the question is not whether she was successful in gaining from it or whether that was part of her agenda. But he might say, look, since she's paying for everything, it's clear that couldn't have been part of her agenda, because she wouldn't realize that she'd be paying him back money. As we saw, she did pay back the money in cash, and there's no testimony to refute that. And even though you might question whether or not it happened, you and I might sit here saying, I don't believe she actually paid it. The judge can pretend that he does believe it, and there's no contrary testimony. You don't know that's not true. And since you don't know that's not true, the burden of proof is on the movement, that he will use this as a justification to say, I'm not throwing her out, which is really, that would be the justification he gives publicly. Although, frankly, one would have to question whether or not it's that he's afraid of the kickback or the blowback that would come from him removing Fani Willis from this case. So,
all right. So, folks, ask yourself: do you imagine that this judge right here has any aspirations of ever being a Georgia Supreme Court justice? Because if he does, what he does here matters a lot.
It's true. It's true. It's the political motivation.
Sir, he was due to his concerns related to COVID.
Okay. the safety concern was that there was potential danger at your house. Is that correct?
Yes, my address had been exposed, so yes, there was concerns about potential danger at my house.
Okay, so anyone staying at your house in the
Your
time
dad.
period after you went to the Yerti condo
Would be
was
in
still
danger.
in danger, correct?
Yeah.
By the
well,
way, any attorney general should have tons of protection. Tons of protection.
Sorry, Mr.
Even
Bud.
Fannie, anybody.
She does have tons of protection.
To the question of
speculation.
whether someone was still in danger at her condo,
I can,
Just let her answer the question.
or Mr. Sadon wants to rephrase.
No,
I'm not sure.
I was able to
I've got
understand it.
I've got the objection.
He objected speculation. She pretends she doesn't know that objection speculation is too confusing. And that's why she's like, I understand the question. That whether you understand the question doesn't mean it's not calling for speculation. Objection speculation means that the question that you just asked her is forcing her to testify not about what she knows, but to guess. Now,
Yes, right.
But is it really a proper objection here? Was the question really designed to ask her to guess? No, because the question was, you left there because you left your house because it was dangerous. That's what you told the court here, but you left your dad there. So obviously you didn't think it was dangerous because that person would be because you're leaving your dad in danger. So the attorney for the state is saying objection speculation, meaning you're forcing her to speculate about whether or not her dad was in danger. No, that's not what she's forcing to do. He's showing he's showing that you weren't really concerned about it, because if you were concerned about it, you in your mindset in that time and moment would not have let your father stay there. So that's not what was happening at that point in time. Not that I think where she was staying or whether she moved out is really very important, but so that's the objection. The objection is speculation. Assuming objection speculation is a valid objection, her understanding the question or not understanding it is totally irrelevant. But she's so bad as an attorney, Fani Willis, that when she hears objection speculation, she's like, "Don't worry about it. I understand the question." That's got nothing to do with it.
So you're still not allowed to provide a guess answer to the question.
Even if you
that's what
understand
the speculation is. It's not the clarity of the question. The question could be perfect clarity, but if you have to guess to answer it, that's the speculation.
Right. But Fani Willis thinks that objection speculation means objection. You're forcing the witness to speculate about what the question is. Yeah, you're forcing the question, the witness to speculate about what the question is. No, it's that you're forcing her to speculate about they're forcing her answer to be a speculative answer.
I can't wait till they get away with
hilarious.
Eliminating bar exams completely, Joe.
It's
hilarious.
The
law is going to be so much fun.
This confused, ignorant attorney is the district attorney in Fulton County, and this is a moment that I think got past a lot of people. They didn't realize just how bad this was. Listen to it again, because it's really it's almost fascinating that a district attorney could be this ignorant about basic court procedure or basic objections.
Right, so the speculation is not about the question, folks. It's about the answer.
Right. So you're not speculating that as far as guessing what the question is. It's that if you answer the question properly, the only way you can reach that conclusion is by guessing about what the answer is.
It's your attorney, Ms. Willis. Sorry, Mr. Bud, your objection is speculation.
Yes.
To the question of
Speculation.
whether someone was still in danger at her condo,
Just let her answer the question.
or Mr. Sadon wants to rephrase.
No,
I'm not sure.
I was able to understand it.
I've got the objection, and then I have.
I'll withdraw the
Joe, she was a judge.
Okay.
So,
It's
She was a
unbelievable.
judge.
It's unbelievable how ignorant she is. It really is.
This is what you get from DIE culture.
DEI. Yeah.
No, DIE is the
Oh,
correct.
okay.
I'm gonna remember the question so I can answer it.
But you can, now that the objection's been withdrawn, can you try to answer that question?
Yes,
There's still a safety concern
I was.
for people staying at the house.
Yes, I was very concerned about my father still living at the house. However,
Stop,
if you have dealt with an
stop.
older
Your Honor,
gentleman,
Your Honor.
he was
Asked and answered, Your Honor.
not.
I don't understand why these lawyers.
I urging him that I
Yeah. But you'll see he starts getting very
thought
offensive.
he should leave as well. He
gonna
did
skip
not want
past-
to leave the house.
I
It is early on in his
Really worried
questioning,
in
so
his-
maybe
Yeah.
he's
Oh,
being
it-
patient
That
to.
became, I don't want to say, I was not happy with that decision of my father's, but I can't ultimately make him leave. And he stayed there too long, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. During that
Now he
period
starts
that you
getting to the daughter.
left to go
his
to the
daughter's sitting
Yerty
there.
condo, did any of your children
I
stay?
don't care about
They
that.
moved. Nobody ever lived with me in the condo. That was
I want to
My
jump
word
forward.
my word was stayed, not
I want to
lived.
jump forward
Stayed with you at the
to a
condo,
different
I
issue
guess
that
I
he
don't understand the
raises.
distinction, but no one ever,
right?
she got a house.
That's all I'm asking. She's not in the condo.
She is, we never
Still on the
stayed,
condo.
Miss Yurti and
I
I
apologize.
never.
I want to sort of find the part where he starts asking her about the way she treated, because the textbook way to ask questions that Sado displayed is when he's asking her about the difference in how she treated Wade compared to how she treated any other employee of Fulton County.
Yep.
And the way he walks through that, and she has no opportunity to escape other than to admit that she treated him very differently, and he specifically ties it into.
She wasn't going to Aruba with every other lawyer.
No, we're not. It's not that. He does even better. He's like, before he signed that contract, that's when he's like, before he signed that contract, before November 1, 2021, how many times did he take you out for dinner? Before, and he makes
she'll say
sure-
no because they're not supposed to have a relationship before
But
then,
she
right?
doesn't. She doesn't. She admits that there were multiple times.
Stay a
You'll
day
hear.
together in the condo. All of her stuff was out of the condo, and all my stuff, some of my stuff, not all of it.
Jumping
obviously.
forward a little bit.
I don't think so. I certainly didn't go out telling my business to the world.
Look at those lashes.
Best of your recollection, you didn't inform anyone on the prosecution.
I should get a pair of those to wear on these shows.
I don't know why you're not. I'm kind of offended. Obviously, you don't think that
They
dressing
won't fit
up for my
under the
show-
glasses, Joe.
You don't think dressing up for my show is important?
Chosen to lead
I'll get a dress.
the prosecution
Thank you.
team had a personal relationship with you.
So I
Is that
think
correct?
That's inaccurate. Your question is inaccurate.
What?
Because you stated that the person I chose, we had a personal relationship. So we had.
And he's fallen for the same stupidity of using personal relationship because he's too embarrassed to use the term intimate relationship or romantic
Sexual.
relationship.
No,
It should be
just
sexual.
go right to sexual relationship.
Right. And it seems as if the judge didn't want to hear that term because as soon as anyone asked about sex, he was like, that's not important. That's not
Oh, well, that if that's true, I haven't
Yeah.
heard everything about this case. The judge may have told them they can't use that phrase, and that
that's
would constrain
possible.
them.
But
Right.
still, you can say intimate, and that conveys that it's not just friends hanging out because we like each other on a personal level.
I'm
but that-
sorry, Joe. I would still get there. I'd say a personal relationship. You know, the kind where you spend the night together.
Right. But
But again, I keep forgetting we're not in front of a jury, so the judge knows all this, right? The judge knows it was a sexual relationship.
right, but it does afford the witness the opportunity to say, "Well, I meant personal when I said personal. I didn't mean romantic." So that's why I feel like they sort of danced around, but he gets there.
Had a friendship.
what I wanna-
We have all these distinguishing factors. Remember, when I chose him in November of
I'd want them to stipulate.
First of all, let's get this.
I will only say personal
It's
relationship, but I want the court to
it's no-
stipulate it was a
it's no-
sexual
yeah.
relationship.
Your Honor,
No,
I
it is
don't-
you because of the way you phrased the question. You said, when I chose him, I didn't inform people of a personal relationship. We have defined personal as romantic. It is an inaccurate way to state the question.
Then I will
as-
certainly restate it so it is very accurate.
Okay, and please do not yell at me.
You hired Mr. Wade for the first time on November 1st of
Here's where you get
2021, correct?
November of 2021. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Your
This guy looks competent.
whether one accepts it or not, your testimony is.
Look at his posture, his
I like how-
eyes.
And I like how he throws in there whether one accepts it or not. Your testimony, whether one accepts it or not.
You hired Mr. Wade. There had never been a romantic relationship
So
with
precise.
Mr. Wade
Yes.
before you hired him, correct?
Yes, my testimony is that we were very good friends.
Yes
but
or no?
But we're talking about the sex, so let's just don't.
No, I'm not talking about, I'm saying romantic relationship doesn't necessarily have to be just sex.
Well,
It can
I
be
don't-
dating, it can be holding hands, it can be any of those things that one might call romantic. I'm asking you whether or not prior to November 1st of 2021, there was a romantic relationship with Mr. Wade.
This is really important. Can you pause it, Joe?
Yeah.
Because she says, well, it wasn't sex. Because, of course, there's not going to be a witness to the sex, right?
Right.
But there could be a witness to the hand holding, to the kissing, to the
And that's
stuff
what-
he's right.
And that's what Yuri actually testified about, that she saw them holding hands, kissing, and hugging. So that's what she had testified about. So that's why
this guy is being surgically precise.
Yes, and this is what's necessary. And I'm trying.
That's why you should always hire an old guy like me and Joe to be your lawyer. Don't hire the chick with the big boobs.
Yes or no?
I don't consider my relationship with him to be romantic before that. I'm not a hand holder, so no.
Okay, that's fine. Now, let's move beyond November 1st of 2020,
Yeah.
2021, excuse me. If I understand your testimony, there was no romantic relationship.
Look how much more subdued she is
with
now.
Mr. Wade until
She knows
early
she's
in
dealing with a tiger.
2022, whether it be January or February or March, early in 2022, correct?
I would say sometime between February and April. Yes, sir.
All right.
all of a sudden now she's sort of caving in a little bit. Maybe it was soon after. It wasn't in April. Before she said April. Now it's between February and April is when we got romantically involved.
Now I'm asking you about that time period when it became romantic.
Yes.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. You didn't see the need, if I understand, to tell any of the people on the prosecution team when you had established a romantic relationship with Mr. Wade that the lead prosecutor, that is the man that was basically giving orders to others, was dating or having a romantic relationship with you, correct?
I'm going to object to relevance at this point, Your Honor. It's not
relevance.
Just to prove or attempting to show that there is an issue on the credibility about the relationship. The failure to have informed anyone on her team that she was having a romantic relationship with the lead prosecutor, I suggest gives rise to that inference. That's the relevance.
The inference that
that they were concealing this because it was not as it's been characterized to the court, and that in fact it started earlier than what they say.
all right, overruled. Mr. Sadon.
I just want to make sure that we're clear. From at least 2020, me and Mr. Wade were friends. At least that time period.
Okay, I'm not talking
Okay,
about.
so no. I want to be clear
Just
because
trying to like
my
Dan.
credibility is being evaluated here, right?
Of course.
We were friends. We hung out prior to November of 2021. In November of 2021, I hired him. I do not consider our relationship to have become romantic
The
until
difference in her demeanor here
I don't know what date and
to
time.
the female lawyer
Saying sometime between
is
February
180 degrees.
Yep.
and very
Yep.
early April.
Because she can look at this guy and this guy's saying, I'm not
Exactly.
letting you get away with
We could prove
shit.
that the relationship had become romantic. I hope that answered your question, but I can't have it where,
This is why you need to pick good counsel,
so you
folks,
found-
because we're not all the same.
The question originally was, at that time, did you tell any other prosecutors on the prosecution?
I never tell people at work who I'm dating.
All right, Mr. Sadon.
Okay. Did you take any trips to DC with Mr. Wade?
Never.
Did you?
Yeah, he goes a little bit afield here for a couple of minutes when he starts talking about DC, but I want to get to the part where he starts talking about where he starts drawing in
trips.
My next question is based on her opening the door, and therefore I'll just ask it, and Your Honor can decide whether or not it's appropriate. When you went to DC, did you go to the White House?
Objection.
I did not go to the White House.
No.
They
Well,
move out. They move out.
Apparently, I'm going to get the answer anyhow.
there you have it. Next question.
Okay. You indicated your best recollection was that your relationship with Mr. Wade, the romantic relationship, ended,
so gross.
you left it in August of 2023. That sound right?
That's the hard conversation. That's not the,
We've covered this. Next question.
And you characterize it as a tough
Lots
conversation,
of Netflix
correct?
yes,
I'm not going to get into the conversation per
we
se.
should.
Okay.
If you want to, we won't go there. So, Mr. Sadon, next question.
It's kind of hard to say no when you've got that opportunity. But all I'm going to say is was it pre-indictment in this case?
Oh, he spent some time
So-
talking on
We
that.
know the timeline that the indictment was delivered.
Okay,
Well,
but
actually,
Let me
the
jump-
only man who's ever foot my bills completely is my daddy.
We missed the question. That's where she went on this little rant here, where she's like all about I pay my own bills. The only man-
Hiding our money, saving money. The whole thing.
This is where he's questioning her about the hundreds of dollars that she.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
No,
Sure.
but I'm sure we'll talk about it further.
By the way, young men out there, if you're ever like engaged to a woman who's hiding money, eject.
Yeah.
All right, no back and forth. Let's stay down. Next question.
My next question is something that that has to do with what I've characterized as the church speech. Let me just tell you what the question is, because I know that's not
Preserve it for the record.
Oh,
You can preserve the question for the record, but then we'll move on.
That's correct.
just remove that guy for
Thank you.
her.
When you gave what I've
I'll-
referred to as the Martin Luther King weekend church speech, you know what I'm referring to.
A great honor of mine. That's a historic African-American church. Yes, I do.
Luther King weekend. Did you have handwritten notes with you that you were reading from during the speech?
And on second thought,
he
Mr.
wants the
Chair,
notes.
I have a number of questions about this. Why don't we just bullet point what you would want to cover on this, preserved for the record, and then we'll move on to the next topic.
Okay.
Good enough.
Since I had laid out before that the forensic misconduct isn't a
So
subject
do
of the
I
administrative.
not get an answer for that?
That's right.
Okay. Did you read your speech?
Well, no, Mr. Sadoff, for everything related to any forensic.
Oh, you just want me to stay out
misconduct
of it now?
We're just not, we can do it in a bullet form if you just want to cover what you would have asked, but it's not in a question and answer format.
Okay, so I should do that at this point or do it
Sure.
when you're ready?
This is so unusual,
Right now,
folks. The lawyer doesn't actually know. This is not normal.
Which part of it is not normal?
The whole just do a bullet point thing. Don't ask the witness questions. Just like talk into the record, like talking to the stenographer.
This is a weird. We had a weird afternoon.
Did she prepare the speech? Did she have notes on the speech? Did she read the speech?
I've never had that happen.
When did she do this? When did she write the speech?
Although, in fairness, I think part of what happened here is that the judge was basically saying a large part of the segment that was in the motion I excluded from this evidentiary hearing. The stuff that you're talking about, where she's making her speaking engagements and what she said in her speech, I specifically said I don't want that to be thrown into the evidentiary hearing. So now when he has all these different questions about the things that she said at her speech, he's like, no. So that could be why the judge is jumping in on that, because he wants to streamline the nature of the evidence that's being admitted here.
And to be fair, the cases I'm normally involved in are traditional criminal prosecution cases. So they're not this. This is this is a weird character in the law.
Yeah, and this is interesting. Robert Gavea said this attorney dropped the ball in the White House question. Should have asked if she ever met with the White House counsel. However, on X, people are saying she was in the House logbook. Yeah, but still, he's right. He should have asked that. He definitely should have asked that. Why are just the facts that the charges exist not meet the appearance of standard in the statutes? They don't have to prove she did just looks like. Because you want to put the judge in a position that he feels he has no choice but to remove her.
So I saw a non-payment comment asking. It sounds like the judge has been is indoctrinated with DIE ideology.
Yeah,
folks. In most, Joe, what are you?
I keep. I'm just busting balls.
And folks, in a lot of states, the bar association requires lawyers and judges to take continuing legal education, and a lot of them they mandate DIE education. So yes, of course, we have to presume this judge is indoctrinated in this stuff every year.
Yep. On break, how much protection she has? 3 to 4 men in court. How many outside? Yet never on date with Wade. Yeah, that's an interesting question.
She's got a whole NBA team defending her and defending her.
Who was she referring to when she was talking about others? Who was she referring to when she said they? Who she was referring to when she...
Well, Ms. Willis, you could certainly do that in some other format. But for today, that's what we decided we're not going to cover.
Who was she talking about that was playing the race card, and why she didn't tell the people at the church that she had a personal /
no chance he's going to let that in.
With the, all due respect, the way it was characterized, the black man that she was referring to, and was the black man she referring to, was that Mr. Wade?
Okay.
That's that area of inquiry.
Noted for the record, Mr. Sadow. Next topic.
Okay.
Come on, get to the good part here.
I realize that you've testified that you have no records that with regard to cash payments.
Yes.
Correct?
Mhm.
would your bank records reflect that you withdrew cash from your bank accounts during the time period of
This is the right question.
2021, 2022, or 2023?
That Miss Big Boob Sweater didn't ask.
I'm just asking whether they would reflect that you withdrew cash from any of your bank accounts.
So the exact amounts.
No,
But yeah,
No.
money throughout that time period, throughout my life, I withdrawn money from the bank. Yes, of course.
Talking about cash from, that is that you go to a
Cash,
bank
right.
or you go to an ATM
Cash.
and you take cash out.
Either that way, or you go to Publix and you overpay, or you go to another store and you overpay. So yes, both through that. Yes, of course.
Did I
there was
miss
like
it?
that at times.
Did I really
And
miss it? Oh,
So those records, if we had them, would show that, correct?
That throughout the course of my life, I took out money.
I was very specific. I said
Yes, through the course of
2020.
that time period, I would have taken money out.
Course of
Yes,
my life.
Do you have a problem with,
I absolutely, yes.
you
Probably
don't want
not.
the bank records to be made available for the court and the court
I'm
alone?
going to object as to the relevance, and this has already been addressed earlier as it relates to other records. This is an improper line of question.
She opened the door.
For the purpose of harassment. Right, Your Honor.
I'm just going to sustain it on relevance. Mr. Sadov, that's something you want to follow up privately? You can do that.
Yes.
Last
Yes.
area.
Are you kidding when a judge says that? Yes, of course.
He said if you want to follow up privately.
In
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah, which is what he should have done.
Yes.
He should have done that right then.
That's
and
an
there.
invitation.
I'm getting very bothered now because someone is saying that I missed that when I was skipping
We'll
through.
go
his
back. It's okay,
testimony,
Joe.
But I don't want to review the same thing over.
There've been all these intimations.
You still haven't answered the question, Ms. Willis.
She's
I'm sorry,
got
what was the question?
Oh, you people are horrible.
Who knew about it, and then you can explain.
It was before those.
Yeah.
Okay, could you give us an approximation of how many times Mr. Wade visited you at the condo between the time you moved in?
And this,
No Botox, though.
That
Look at
time-
those ribs in the forehead. That's like worse than me.
Until
Let's see if I can replicate that.
on November the 1st of,
I appreciate that. He's correct. I did skip past it. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back another minute here because this is the key part where he really shown, and you could see how his short questions, short, direct, as far as this is the window, this is what I want, what happened, and you'll see that there's no opportunity for her to soapbox the way she loves to do.
Or something, but live with, no.
Let's go back a little more.
Remember, I just don't have a recollection of that because, your kids come and they go. And so I don't remember the specific time period, and I apologize for that.
did your children ever stay with you at the Yurti condo?
Like maybe a night, like for a girls' night or something, but live with, no.
Okay. Did anyone else stay with you at the Yurti condo,
I was-
including Miss Yurti?
Never. Miss Yurti never lived in the condo. She met her husband and they moved. They weren't quite married, but they moved. Nobody ever lived with me in the condo. That was
My
A
word
long
was,
period.
my word was stayed, not lived. Stayed with you at the condo.
I guess I don't understand the distinction, but no one ever, I think my oldest child, I think she spent one night with me, maybe my oldest and my youngest. But I think that whole time I was in that place, other than that one night, I don't think anyone ever, this was a very lonely period in my life. I don't think anyone ever spent the night other than maybe one night. I remember a picture of my baby sitting on the couch in that place, and I'm thinking she spent that night, but just a very lonely time in life.
Okay, we'll stay with the lonely theme just for a minute. Did Nathan
He does. This is where he nails her.
That's pretty hard.
visit you at the Yurti condo from the time you moved in until he was hired on November the 1st of 2021?
So I moved out of that condo, but during that,
And everyone needs to understand what's really important for this evidentiary hearing, as far as establishing their relationship, is proving that there was a relationship, even though she's not characterizing it as having a romantic relationship, but proving that there was a relationship prior to him being hired on November 1st, 2021.
Right. Let's focus on the point. Joe
Yeah.
is right. That is the point. That's the whole point of all of this.
time period, I'm sure he came to visit. he came to visit. I can remember us going. I think the
Just as a friend.
Look at what she did.
Me up.
Look at, she walks into right here. She walks. This is where like her blabbering is where she actually walks into it. Watch it how he and how she nails herself to a cross.
The visit. I can remember us going. I think the restaurant's Lickety Split. I can remember him picking me up, going to Lickety Split and ordering some food and coming and sitting at my table and eating. So I remember times that he visited me at that condo. Yes.
Okay, could you give us an approximation of how many times Mr. Wade visited you at the condo between the time you moved in and prior to November 1 of 2020?
I don't think often, but I don't want to speculate.
Can we say more than 5, more than 10?
I'm gonna tell you the problem I'm having here. Let's say more than 10, but I'm not sure that that's even accurate. He certainly has gone to grab some food to eat.
10 times.
I don't remember him being in that condo a lot.
No guy shows up to a woman's apartment 10 times if he's not banging her.
Yeah.
For the incels in the
just
audience.
dinner. For just dinner. We're gonna go out. I'm gonna buy you dinner, and we're not gonna have sex. Yeah, that's totally and this is all before November 1st, 2021. But hold on, it gets better.
I'm sorry. You want a number, and what I don't want to do.
Giving me your current and best recollection is all I'm asking for.
That's all I can give you, sir.
How many times did any of the prosecution team, how
erect is this lawyer right now,
come to that condo between the time you moved in and November 1st of 2021?
I don't think Anna's ever been to that condo.
What about any other prosecutor that's involved in the prosecution of this case?
I don't think any of them have.
Just Mr. Wade.
That's correct, sir.
Bam. That was it. Right there. Right there. When he asked, he's short, pointed, here's the issue we're at. And, you can characterize relationship or not, but later on, I'm going to basically be able to stand in front of the judge and say, Your Honor, she wants to claim they were in a romantic relationship that started in February or March or April of 2022. Bottom line is this. She admitted on the stand that more than 10 times that he came to her
shagged
for November 1st, 2021. More than 10 times he showed up there. They got dinner and they came back to their place. So you tell me, more than 10 times, I don't care whether she calls it a relationship. If you're having dinner alone with a woman in her apartment 10 times, that's a relationship. That's
and part of the standard is what would the public perceive the justice to be here?
Yes.
It's the public perception of justice.
Yeah. And she seems she's so stupid. She's oblivious to the fact. She thinks because I'm not calling it a relationship,
because she's a whore.
So that's why it's not a relationship. No. He just showed there's a relationship, and it's not a relationship she got with anybody else, because she did that with nobody else. No other prosecutor she did that with. The only person, no one else came a single time, but he came more than 10 times. That's how many times he came. And trust me, coming to Fani is not an easy thing, but he came 10 times. So
coming to Fani might be easier than you think, Joe, but that's a separate conversation.
I'm talking about this.
I don't know how you people do these things.
Do you think Willis secure that? I'm not sure. I fly with 10K on me. Cops will take it almost certainly. So good. I've watched it twice. That is to me, that's the best part of the entire. And she doesn't even. I'm sure you're not going to read about that in the media. I'm sure that some of my other peers have hit on this because
look at her face right here. She's like it looks like she's starting to realize that she's fucked up.
Yeah, possibly, maybe, I don't know. But like, they live in their own minds. They're in their own freaking world.
They're delusional little worlds.
Yeah,
but all guilty defendants do. All lying witnesses. They live in these delusional worlds where like, well, I'm going to get on the witness stand and I'm just going to tell them this, and everyone will believe me. And then they're subject to cross-examination, and their whole world changes.
Yeah, and I just want to point out Nathan Wade did something very similar. Where he's like, no, I didn't cheat on my wife because our relationship was over in 2015.
Emotionally, my marriage was over
in 2015. Yeah, emotionally, my marriage was over in 2015 when she cheated on me. So yeah, anything after 2015 is open game because So
I think I was on with Nick Starro this morning, and I said, emotionally, my first marriage was my first 13-year marriage was emotionally over 3 years in. But I can assure you, 10 years later, when I actually had to file for divorce, I actually had to file for divorce. The court just didn't let me say, oh,
we're over.
10 years ago, you felt like your marriage is over? Okay, we'll just wave it all away.
Yeah. So now I'm actually saving this for the end because I want to we're coming close to the finish here, and I want to wrap up with this question because I think that this is really a great summation point. So I'm going to come back to it. Don't think I missed it. I didn't. Lynn Morris, I'm going to watch it twice. Allegan News says, so others in your office, no boot knocking, but Wade, we knock boots 10 times, but not in a relationship. Not a relationship. It's not because they didn't call it a relationship until April of 2022. But yeah, I think that's a very. Here's the thing, though. Even if there's a relationship, you still need to show that there was a motivation here.
Was he married? Well, not in my mind. He's a lawyer.
Thank you for the super sticker, Prosperity Now. I appreciate you as well as everyone else who supported me in this stream and all day. You guys have been really exceptional. Let me just make sure I'm good over here on Locals and Rumble. We are. So I want to start landing the plane here, and I want to focus on this last super chat here from Janelle. So Janelle points out and says, why throughout her testimony did she keep saying that she's allowed to explain? Why is she allowed to explain, elaborate on yes or no questions? And I think that this is exactly the point of why I went through this entire night. You know why she's allowed to explain? Because the lawyer let her do it. That's why. This is what I keep telling you. If you let someone, the rules are established by someone saying, no, you can't, setting the boundary for you. She says, I'm allowed to explain. There's a certain point during the course of today's testimony where the judge says limited explanations. And even that he only does, I think, when this guy is the one doing the cross-examination or
right. But the judge should be tasked to give that order, limited explanation. The default should be yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. And when the witness insist on going beyond that, then the questioner should object, and the opposing counsel should say, let them explain, and the judge should say, limited opportunity to explain.
Right. And that should be once the entire time, twice the entire time, not every question.
And the explanation has to be relevant to the answer, not, well, our cruise room was larger than I expected.
And you're a liar. You lied about me and made up all sorts of crap about me. Like, yeah, exactly. Nate, how are you?
What's going on? To the two lawyers I love to death. What's going on, guys?
Well, wonderful. How are you, my friend? You streamed this today, right?
Yeah, today was like a Johnny Depp day. It was like insane.
Yeah. I knew it was gonna be. That's why I was like, I've been hyping this up for a while because I was like, and by the way, tomorrow at 9 a.m., I'm going to be back at it streaming day 2 of this evidentiary hearing. I expect you all to be on time. I expect you all to be on time at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning when this resumes. I'm going to be setting up this trial the stream right after this on both YouTube and Rumble. But
hey, Nate, sorry, Joe, but Nate, you moved to Texas? Is that right?
Yeah, he's living in Texas.
Can you hear me?
He fell asleep.
Oh, okay.
He is not
right, no. Hear me? Can you hear me? Mic check.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, no. I usually fall asleep, but no, I'm good. No, I'm in Texas now. Yes. I mean,
I'm coming to Texas next month, San Antonio.
Oh, cool. Oh, I might take a trip up there then. That's awesome.
No. I'll come to you if you want to get breakfast or lunch or something or dinner or whatever. It's I don't know, but Texas is big, so that's why I asked. I don't know where in Texas you are, like major city.
No, I'm pretty far. I'm pretty far from San Ann. I'm maybe a couple hours away. But yeah, if you want to make the trip, I'll take you to the steakhouse I like. It's a Brazilian steakhouse. If you like steak.
All right. Let's plan on doing that.
These are the only two people from the entire LawTube community who I've broken bread with and forced them to eat kosher. Is both Nate and Andrew. I don't even think.
First of all, in fairness, I've eaten kosher before. I dated a kosher girl.
Shoved it in his mouth.
So
yeah, and he loved it. They both loved it. They both loved it.
It was amazing.
There you go.
Also, the pizza that Joe brought me to was also excellent. That was great.
Yes, the Joe's Pizza Shop in Manhattan.
Yeah, and then I took you to Chinese. We went to Chinese in Teaneck, you and me, Nate. So,
oh yeah,
so
we went to a steakhouse, right? It was like a little steakhouse we went to.
Yeah, like a little Chinese steakhouse place. So, yeah. So, what did you think? Putting aside the craziness of today, how effective do you think the defense overall was? Let's look at them as a collective team in reaching their objective of getting this motion granted.
Well, I'll say this. Whenever I've questioned a witness, especially on cross, I don't let them just not answer my question and just like I'm talking to the judge. Judge, she's not answering my question. But you got to control. As an attorney, you have to control your witness, right? And even though I understand this judge is being a little timid because it's the DA, but I'm like, you got to treat her like everybody else. She's not answering my question. She's giving a speech. I'm asking her, and like Andrew was saying earlier, your questions have to kind of lead somewhere. And I think I understood where they were going with it, but I don't think they were making the points because
wasn't me, folks.
You lost audio.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm because my phone had an Amber Alert. Okay. But on like when you guys were talking about direct and cross and open and close questions, I understand they had called her as an not an adverse witness. They called her. She was the
judge called her the judge called her an adverse witness. So.
Yes. So and you're on direct. And they were allowed to ask leading questions, but they didn't really take advantage of it because it was kind of like, if I'm going to ask you a yes or no question and you give a speech, it kills the fact that I'm asking you pointed questions. So, and I bet you tomorrow, it's just like with Wade. Wade was being asked yes or no questions. He's elaborating, but then when the state was questioning him, it's yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So I do think the defense did a bad job in that respect, but I do think they've done enough where it's because I think a lot of people don't realize they don't have to prove the impropriety. They just got to show an appearance of impropriety. That gets her out. And I think you have enough to maybe get, but it really depends on this judge. I think this judge is going to be really adverse into disqualifying her because he knows this is the game. If you disqualify her, all the other DAs are Republicans. And for a Democrat, this is a great case. But for a Republican, it's a great case to dismiss. You'll be a hero.
So you think that I was going to ask you procedurally because I figured you might know better.
And by the way, I agree with Nate on the merits of this 100%. I think he's called it 100% correct. The politics, I'm not sufficiently familiar with Georgia to know.
Right, but you both think that from what we've seen, assuming that they, we get nothing else here. I mean, we're expecting tomorrow we're going to hear all sorts of testimony about how Yurdi is biased and she has all this hate towards Fani. Let's assume that there's a lot of people there saying that she's got crazy hatred for Fani. Okay, because that's what was intimated by the state today that the witnesses they're going to bring, and assume there's nothing more beneficial for the defense to get to push the needle. Do you think that this motion gets granted, Nate?
Well,
you're Nate Stradamus.
Well, to that note, to be fair, I think I don't think it's going to get granted. I think this judge, from the end of it, it seemed like the judge is just trying to say, it's like there's not enough. I think he's going with this. It's a lot, but it's not enough. I think based on what you just said about the first witness, the witness that laid the foundation for all this, I think she was credible. She was there adversely because remember they had to subpoena her, and then she didn't even right before it. Her lawyer was like, "Yo, why is she testifying? She doesn't need to testify," and they forced her to testify. And under that, then she said, "Okay, the relationship started before that." So I think her credibility is great. So now it becomes to me a credibility issue, and the credibility of both the DA and Wade is shot. Unless you can really say it's credible for them to be paying all this stuff in cash. There's no receipts of it, even though you don't really have to prove it. But
unless you don't care, you actually don't care about the credibility, right? Like it's a political call.
But I'm asking you though, it's like a mob boss, right? If I say, yeah, I paid all this, I have it in cash, I mean this, and then you go and all the receipts are wrong, and he's paying with this card, but he's really paying with this card and this.
Right. So for folks who don't know, Nate was a New York City police officer, and so he's dealt with mob type cases before. I've also dealt with mob type cases, and this dialogue we're hearing in this case is very mob like. It's very money laundering like. It's like, well, we didn't do anything wrong, but by the way, it was all in cash, and I funneled him $1 million in cash, and he paid for my vacations, but I reimbursed him in cash you can't trace. So this kind of
and the stacks of cash I keep in my house, and the stacks of cash I keep in my house while I can't afford to pay my bills. I can't afford to pay a real estate bill. I got a real estate deficit here of $4,600. I can't afford that.
It's a very common
stacks of cash.
Right. It's a very common mafia kind of narrative that is obviously ridiculous.
Well, you know how blatantly mob it is. It's because generally, if you let's say this happened to anybody else in the mob, and the first thing you're going to ask is, if they say, "Hey, I paid it back," the first thing you ask is, "How can you show me any receipt?" And the first thing any mobster is going to say is, "I paid with cash." Why? Because that's the only thing they can say. So it's the obvious excuse. And when he said it, I was like, one of the lawyers even like gasped when he said it. The judge had to say. He was like, because we all know it's bullshit. And then we talking about a DA, and then it's the fund source too. I don't know what we used to call it, bail source, but we also say fund source. Where even if you're talking about paying with cash, the key to this case is, did that cash come from the DA's office? And she's like, well, you see, it's cash
all fungible.
I made money from private practice 3 years ago, and that's the money I have. And it's not the DA money, but it's this money. It's all bullshit. So I'm saying if it comes down to credibility, which this should come down to, and an appearance of impropriety, I don't see how you don't have that. I don't see how you don't have that in spades, right? I just don't see how it's not there.
But,
and I agree with Nate. And by the way, Nate, can you imagine within the mob itself, if you were not that you are, of course, or that any of us are, but imagine you are an actor within the mob and you told your mob bosses, "Oh, well, I don't have to account for that money because I paid in cash."
Right.
Yeah.
How would they treat you?
Right. And by the way, I think you guys are making a great point here. A great point that if the district attorney's explanation of paying in cash with no receipts, no evidence, just piles of cash that she has stacked away in
nobody would believe that.
If the court accepts that as being credible, it is actually very destructive to Fani Willis, because it basically makes it impossible for her to ever convict a mob boss anytime in the future, because they always say that they always claim they're paying cash every time that's what they're going to say. And if this court is saying that has credibility to it, that, oh, sure, of course, you pay cash with no receipts, what is that saying about the law in Georgia? That's something that we just accept that as being completely natural, normal, and above board, and not something that's illicit or signs or at least indicia of illicit behavior.
Well, Joe, see, the thing is, all right, so I was an ADA specifically. And when you're an ADA,
and as someone points out, and it's a freaking RICO case.
Yes, and it's a RICO case on top of that. But when I was an ADA, just so everybody understands, there are rules when you work for the state and you're getting money from the state. When you are working with someone or you're supervising someone, what they can pay for you. Like like when I go out with my subordinates, if they pay for a meal, I can't take a meal from them. Or if I do take a meal from them, something, and it's over, I think, $100 or $200, I got to report it. They gave me a gift of this money, I got to report it and all that type of stuff. And she's taking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and she's not reporting it on anything. And then when they ask her, well, if he's paying for all these dinners and thousands of dollars, the number is $100 aggregate.
Yeah.
And she's talking about $10,000. And then the judge is like, I don't want to go into that because I want to prove. But it's like,
right? That's the problem.
Why don't you want to go into that? Why don't you want to go?
Because if Georgia wanted to pursue her for that, they could get all of that, right? But this is not Georgia pursuing her; it's opposing parties pursuing her, and that judge just said, "I'm not going to let you ask about that."
Yes, specifically,
and he got angry about it when it got asked.
But and that goes directly to credibility too. Because if you're telling me you're paying in cash and you're not reporting it anywhere and it's not coming out of any bank account and we can't do it, then how can you say,
come on, okay, if our wives told us, right? If our wives showed up with $20,000 in cash, we'd be like, Well, where'd that fucking come from? Right?
By the way,
What
speaking
the hell
of
you
which,
been doing?
speaking of which, any of you who appreciate the hard work I've been putting in today and want to send me cash, I accept cash via Venmo,
20
PayPal.
grand. Just
you can really use any of these sources.
send them the Fanny money.
I'll
But she
you don't have to worry
but-
about
but-
it. It's gonna be cash. We'll consider that.
and,
cash.
and she gave it up with that too, because she's talking about, I'm paying this person with Cash App, I'm paying this person with Cash App. Oh, but I'm just paying him with cash. $2,500 in cash.
Yeah.
On the vacation. While I'm on the vacation, I'm like, you taking $2,500 in cash on vacation to pay him? What are you talking about?
Why not
doing that?
Why not?
No one's doing that.
Why not just say to him, dude, install? He's like, he didn't have Cash App. Dude, install Cash App and I'll send it to you right now. Why wouldn't you do that? Why? It takes all 3 minutes to install Cash App. It's like why would you? Instead, I got to walk around with $2,500 on our private meetings that no one's supposed to see or know about. That I take no bodyguards. I'm supposed to carry $2,500 to that. It's insanity.
It was all packed in condoms.
you guys, but you guys really got to think about this. There's no way to verify that she got the money. There's no money that even took the money out. There's no verification, anything about the money. But the reason why they had to come up with this elaborate scheme, and even MSNBC thinks it's bullshit, but the reason why they had to come up with this elaborate scheme, because if she got $1 from him, and his main source of income was the DA's office, she's gone, right? That's automatic. She's gone. So she has to make sure that every dollar is accounted for. That's why she's saying, I paid him back for everything. But if you're in a relationship and you're banging him, then obviously you're not paying for it. And then she even goes to further to say, no, I paid for his birthday. I paid like thousands of dollars for his birthday, but then every time he pays for me, I pay him back. Then what are you talking about? That it just, none of it made sense. But I think the judge is going to say, well, I don't think they're lying about this. It's who really knows? All right, continue on with the case. I think that's where this judge is going.
Yeah, I have a feeling. That's correct. Speaking of Venmo, someone just paid me $10 on Venmo. Thanks for covering the Fanny circus from Katie. Thanks for covering the Fanny
Joe just got $100 from Grindr.
And help make the workday go by faster. And tomorrow, I hope you'll join me again. Well, I'll try to make your workday go by a little faster as well, because we're going to be here tomorrow.
I'll even tell you one other thing. She was fucking lying when she said when she ran into the courtroom after the other guy was finished testifying. She was watching the whole trial,
of course.
And on top of that, she felt she was losing. She felt that she was going to lose.
Of course. Why else would she do that? She locked in, not having to testify, and suddenly she storms into the courtroom.
And I want to tell everybody,
Joan of Arc, I'm going to testify.
and I want to tell everybody here in this chat, the liberal media, you know what they're saying? They're saying, "Oh, she's so brave. She went up there to testify." This judge
sign of weakness, 100%.
The judge forced her to come testify. The judge didn't force her to do anything. The judge was actually going to give her a pass and not let her testify, and then he kept. No, because remember she came up, she was like, "Are you sure? We have to rule it," and she was like, "No, I waive it." So she waived it. She went up there on her own.
No, she was like the drunk uncle at Thanksgiving. That's what she was. She was like, and let me tell you another thing about you kids being communists.
Yeah, it was a shit show. But I think Merchant, she messed up because she needed to establish dominance earlier. As soon as she started waving up all these lies, and it's like, I didn't ask you anything about that. Answer my questions. You remember Amber Heard and Vasquez?
Yes, Camille.
Merchant was the lawyer, the main lawyer with the big tits. Yeah.
Oh yeah, all right. No, she was terrible.
But the only issue was that if she was like Camille Vasquez, when Amber Heard started giving them speeches, no, you answer my question. That's not my. No, but you gotta control that.
Was much more. All right, so I agree with you, Nate. But Camille was much more surgical. Camille would start polite, and then when she knew she had you on your heels, she would get the knives out. She would start pushing and pushing and pushing. And that's much now again, I keep forgetting we're not in front of a jury. So in front of a jury, that is perfect. That's what this defense lawyer should have done in front of a jury too. She should have been very calm, asking rational questions, very relaxed, until she felt she was hitting a soft point, and then gone in with the knives like Camille did, and then push. But she always seemed frantic, and it was never in front of a jury. So it just felt weird.
Yeah.
It was to me. I would have loved having her up there because I love a insane emotional witness like that because they make a lot of mistakes, and she was making a lot of mistakes. But the thing is that they weren't capitalizing on those mistakes. You pay everybody in cash like this. Oh, he's the only one that you've ever paid tens of thousands of dollars in cash to. You know, it's obvious what's going on here.
Why are you? And also,
who else? Who else have you reimbursed in that way?
Yes, yes.
I didn't hear that question answered.
No, that's the obvious next question, right? Who else have you reimbursed thousands of dollars?
Any other person in your office you've ever paid $2,500 to?
Multiple times.
And by the way, that's the key thing. That's the key thing is to keep contrasting how he was not being treated like a typical employee. In no way was he being treated like a typical employee. And that's why I love the way you worded that question just now, Andrew, because you worded it as, who else in your office have you paid back that? Who else, you claim you have this habit that your father instilled in you to keep cash around for emergencies.
And this is why people should hire male lawyers, by the way.
You claim that you had that all the time. When have you ever needed to rely on it? So that you paid someone in cash, that you paid someone $2,000 and $2,500 in cash, the way you claim that you paid for this cruise trip, because the whole
every
thing,
exception, because we know these are not normal behaviors, right? We know this,
and it's also. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, we just have to expose it as not being normal. When is another time you did this? And then whoever the fact finder is going to hear whatever the bullshit answer is, and they're going to know it's not true.
Right. And
none of us, Nate, you, me, none of us have gone on a vacation and just handed $2,500 in cash money over to someone. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe you have, but it's not
I've never done that.
Right, because what happens if the person turns on you and says, "Hey, you owe me the money for this trip"? How would you ever prove that you gave him the money? And I'll tell you something else.
I just sold a Rolex watch to a dude, and I mailed him the watch, and I'm hoping I'm going to get my money.
Oh,
and I'm like,
yeah, good luck.
Hey, listen, if you go to small claims court and say you paid somebody $2,500 in cash and have no receipts, they're going to laugh you out of small claims court.
Right.
We're in criminal court where the lead prosecutor is about to prosecute the president, and that's the excuse she used. That wouldn't be acceptable in small claims court, but it's acceptable here. It's bullshit. Of course, we all got to call it what it is.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something, that whole concept that she said about how her father instilled in her to always have cash around, that might have been true 30 years ago when she was a little girl growing up in her father's house.
Oh, no, feminism in 2024, that is the message.
No, but slow down for a second. Slow down for a second. I just want to point this out. 30 years ago, there was some sort of rationale to say, I need to keep cash around on me for an emergency. Today, there's PayPal, there's Venmo, there's Cash App. There are
you have a card.
You don't need to have cash on you to take care of an emergency expense. You can take care of any emergency expense from your phone, and everyone knows it. And she knows it because she uses Cash App, which is why this whole explanation.
So I actually had a guy in my jiu-jitsu gym. He just told me. So he's married. And they don't make a lot of money. He doesn't make a lot of money. His wife doesn't make a lot of money. And they've been really struggling. They've been like worried about losing their house, all this kind of stuff. And he just discovered that his wife, for the last 10 years, has been socking away money in basically an escape bag for herself. She's got 40 grand in an escape bag for herself. And this guy's been working 3 fucking jobs because he thought they were about to lose their house and they had no other assets to protect themselves. And she's been saving all this money for herself because her feminist mother told her, just like Fani, make sure you got cash. Make sure you have a little cash bucket just in case things go sideways. And this guy, when he talked to me, he broke down in tears because he's been working himself the death.
Wow. But you know what? The wilder part about this is that she was so concerned for her freaking safety. The gangs, I had to move out my house, but I left my elderly father there to deal with it. What? What? What are you talking? You couldn't stay there, but you're going to leave your elderly father there to take the bullets from the gang members? Like, come on. Really? And everybody's believing this. Everybody, they're cheering her. But listen, if there's any justice in the world, she's off the case. It's I think it's an obvious conflict, but we'll see.
But you think they're going to lose the motion?
I think the judge is going to say it's not, because right now it's a credibility game, and I don't think I don't find them credible. And if the standard is just the appearance of impropriety, then unless you're asking them to prove the impropriety, then I think you got it. But I think the judge wants more. I think this judge is going to want more. Because don't forget, he's a Democratic judge. This is Fulton County, all that type of stuff, So he's got a career to think about too.
No, I agree with Nate. I think it's not enough to feel badly about the situation. You have to meet the standard of proof, and I'm not sure what I've heard of these witnesses and these lawyers. I haven't heard that.
I know it says, if motion is not granted, how can we ever trust our judicial system? Do we even have a constitutional republic? Yeah, it's scary. Dapper Dave, do you guys think Fani admitted to campaign finance violations during a testimony, or was her statement vague enough not to merit an investigation? It's not her statement; it's her political party, which helps her.
She's got tax. Number one. She's got tax issues. She's got state finance issues for not reporting all that thousands of dollars that she's getting.
Who's coming after her?
That's what I'm saying. But nobody's going to come after.
But somebody, if she has issues, somebody is coming after her. Who's coming after her in Georgia?
Well, even the guy, he's using his business credit card to pay for personal stuff. He's taking all those trips off.
No, of course he is.
He's getting reimbursed for them. So so it's all shit.
I really want to see his first 18 invoices, because I'm so confident that he billed for his time on that cruise, his time that
of course.
He logged
Absolutely.
all those hours. He logged all those hours. I am so sure.
When I heard him say, "Well, I just charge everything to my business card and I send it to my accountant," I was like, "Well, that accountant better be lawyering up right now."
Yes, yeah.
he just got thrown right under the goddamn bus. Because what he's saying is, I charge all kinds of shit that is not business deductible on my business credit card, and I'm just pretending my accountant's going to take care of it.
He pays for his tuition. He's paying for trips on his business.
Everything. Whores, strippers.
Insane. Insane.
Fanny. I mean, I guess I'm repeating myself. But...
Oh! By the way, you missed the greatest part here. Maybe I should try to find it, because this was the best part of this whole thing. The best part was near the very, very end, where that guy Sato was questioning her. So, and he basically said, and he asked her a question where he's like, "So basically, you have what you're trying to tell us is that you hoard money," and she's like,
"Whore?
What?"
Yeah,
he said,
"Hoard."
He's hoard. I would never say. And he's like, all apologizing. He's like, I would never say that. But he's like, hoard. I said hoard money. That was great. That was hilarious. He was like so embarrassed by it. But everyone realized that, kind of, you kind of hoard money out there.
By the way, Joe, if you can indulge me just for a minute. So.
Yeah.
Nate and I have had our disagreements, but I'd like to take this opportunity to make clear that however I disagree with Nate, he's a very smart guy and a very good lawyer, has a very good lawyer sense. So I wouldn't want anyone to perceive our disagreements as being on a professional level. He's a smart guy, smart lawyer. You should pay attention to him.
Oh, I appreciate that, Andrew. But you know me. I always tell everybody, if it ever comes to anything like self-defense, you are like the guy. You're the guy even I watch. So and it's funny because every time somebody says Andrew is a racist, Andrew's a racist, I'm like, he's so fucking racist that he's the one that he went out on the limb and said Ashley Babbitt's thing was justified when the black cop shot her. So if he was racist, he would have said the opposite. Thanks
for bringing that up again.
Yeah, I'm like, no, but I'm saying, but you went against the grain. You was like, listen, even though I understand, you went against the grain.
I'll defend it every day of the week.
And defended a black cop. So I was like, I'm like, the guy's so racist that he's saying that he's literally going against the crowd. Everybody's talking about, so that's what I think. I think these disagreements are in substance, but as long as you can rationally say this is the reason why.
Now I'm going to get another full year of hate from white people because I call that correctly.
You're right. You were so correct on that too. You're like, he's not going to be charged.
Johnny Duck sends a rumble rant saying, "Good Lawgic, please thank Andrew Bianca for
Okay.
I guess that's your new trans name, Andrew Bianca.
Bianca.
Bianca for knowing
My wife will be shocked.
for knowing it's DIE, diversity, inclusion, equity, not DEI. It is death, DIE. Thanks. You speed the word die. Thanks. Then he corrected it saying spread, not speed the word. LOL. Damn spell check. No, it was me. Grifty says, wait, there's no character limit based on dollar amount to Rumble? You mean I can write a book for only $1 and Joe can't hate because that funny hat means he has to respect a good deal? Hashtag miles of yeah. It's one of those things about Rumble that makes me question everything about this whole system.
Yo, do you guys make money on like Rumble? I make nothing. Like all the years I've been on Rumble, my account is like at $5.20.
That's what you made so far. $5.20.
Yeah, $5.20
all
the time.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, I can pull it up right now. My Rumble
$5.20 in your life.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you guys. So the way I operate, I have a law of self-defense membership that's independent of YouTube or Rumble or whatever. That's where I make my money. I don't even monetize YouTube. I don't monetize Rumble. I make zero money off of that. I think on Twitter, I do a live stream, hour-long live stream on Twitter every day of the week, and I think I make $20 a month.
I haven't made anything from Twitter ever. I'm not even eligible to make money. But yeah, I've made more than Nate on Rumble. My Rumble folk are kind to me. So,
but every time I try to monetize on YouTube or something like that, they just demonetize me because of the content they cover. You know, shootings and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. You're walking a death road there. I couldn't believe yesterday I was on the thumbnail of somebody who was guest on Elijah Schaefer, and he put a gun on there. I was like, how are you even trying to put this on YouTube? What do you think is going to happen to this? What do you think is going to happen? Why are we even bothering here on YouTube? But anyhow, just to answer one question that came up out of the blue, because I do read stuff that comes up. This was in Rumble from the Rumble Ghetto, which everyone thinks I ignore, and I really don't. Kosher Chinese, just to let you know that if you have a Jewish neighborhood and it's big enough that a restaurant will open, 90% of the time it's going to be Chinese because people who eat kosher tend to love Chinese food. We don't put the pork. We take the pork out, but in all other respects, we eat tons of Chinese food. So yeah, it's a commonly known thing. That
are you calling that a lie, Joe? Or
no, I'm saying just the opposite. I'm saying
yes,
that.
I will say I've lived in Jewish communities much of my life. That is 100%
Chinese
true.
restaurants. The Chinese restaurants are far more likely to be successful than.
Just wait until Christmas. You'll see more Jews in a Chinese restaurant than you'll see in Jerusalem.
Yeah. Anyhow, so that's my show for tonight. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. we resume with this trial. We're probably expecting to see with the state to examine Fani Willis. I guess it's technically cross-examination. I always wondered about that. Is it? Are they able to
weird?
Are they able to
it's
ask?
So abnormal.
Are they able to? They technically can ask leading questions.
They will ask leading questions, yeah, because it's on cross-examination. So they're going to ask. So it's going to be she's just going to sit there and say yes, no to the narrative they put out, and then they're going to go back and to redirect, and then you're going to see the same. I can't say yes or no anymore. So it's going to be the same thing.
And then we'll see Milton Bradley get up there. No, not Milton. I know it's Terrence. And we're gonna see, and we might even get a close of the move-ins evidentiary hearing and start moving. We should. There's supposed to be 3, 4, or 5 hours of testimony according to the state, which is all going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow it's supposed to be only a 2-day hearing, so it's supposed to be wrapping up tomorrow. We'll see if it actually does. Starts tomorrow at 9 a.m. Make sure you're not late. Make sure you're on time. The stream is going to be set up.
So before I go, I would just urge people.
You want to, by the way, before you go. So.
I would urge people to keep in mind, in fairness, whatever your political affiliation is, just flip your political affiliation, and imagine if it was the other guy who is being subjected to this. If it was, who knows, Obama or Clinton who is being subjected to this, and just have an open mind and decide for yourself if this feels like a fair proceeding to you, or if it feels like it's politically motivated. If the Republicans were doing this to Obama, would you feel it was fair? Just ask yourself the question.
Oh, and it's very important to check out goodlogic.locals.com so this way you know when and where you can find me. And also check out Nate the Lawyer, good at locals.locals.com, and Law of Self-Defense. Locals.com.
I don't know.
Are you on Locals?
I don't remember.
Don't check that out because nothing's happening over there.
Lawofselfdefense.com will get you everywhere. So.
That's what you need. Lawofselfdefense.com. I thank you for joining. Nate, you have any final words before we wrap up here?
No, well, I'm streaming it at 9:00 tomorrow, so I will.
All right, so he's out of here anyway. So I'm just...
Everybody's streaming it though. Every Jew, Danny, everybody. So
yeah. What did you say? What'd you call me?
Say Jew? What is that?
No, I said you, Danny. I'm Danny and Direct, Uncivil, everybody. Viva, like this. This is like again, like I said, it's like Johnny Depp again.
Yeah, we knew that was going to happen. So anyhow, I urge you to at least stop in, see if you like the coverage.
All right, guys.
Stay
Have a
happy,
good night.
eat the bugs, and as always, Godspeed.
Later, guys.